Chapter 1202. Boom! The old man's body fell forward and almost rolled to the ground. The flesh on his back was badly burned and sizzling. After Lu Yinghong stopped, the Green Emperor's huge snake body tumbled and fell from the sky, smashing into the mountain range and no longer moving. "Little bastard, I'm going to tear you to pieces." Lu Yinghong was furious as he stared at the ugly little bird behind him like a ferocious ghost. At this moment, his heart was filled with rage. Before coming to the Bawang sect, Lu Yinghong had never imagined that a small Bawang sect could be so fierce and make him suffer so much. Putting aside the illusory spirit world, just the few rounds of indiscriminate bombardment from the soul manipulation talismans, coupled with the ferocious attacks from the beast emperors and the human women, had almost exhausted all of their strength. Not only was he shocked that a origin ancestor had fallen to such a state, but he also felt endless humiliation. "Old dog, let's see how you can kill me," Su Xiaoshui said as he flapped his wings. A large flame soared into the sky and burned through everything, even distorting the absolute domain around Lu Yinghong. The blazing flame was like the 9 heavens' divine fire, incomparably terrifying. "Kill!" Lu Yinghong shouted as he firmly confined the absolute domain, not allowing the flame to get close to him. At the same time, he controlled the cauldron to fly out. It was as if 10,000 mountains were collapsing, enveloping Su Xiaoshui within it. The cauldron carried an unparalleled pressure as it smashed into the mountain range below at an extremely fast speed. Boom! A terrifying explosion rang out. Smoke and dust swirled in the air as rocks flew through the air. The loud sound was earth-shattering. A huge pit that was almost 10 feet deep appeared in the mountain range. The surrounding mountain rocks cracked like a spider web, spreading in all directions. Lu Yinghong snorted and waved his hand. The cauldron buzzed and flew back to his hand. He looked coldly at the huge pit. Seeing that there was no movement for a long time, he began to pant heavily. That annoying little bird being shot down was completely within his calculations, so he wasn't surprised. It was just that in this battle, his consumption was seriously too great. Not even 10% of his strength was left. This was a vicious battle that was unimaginable. Lu Yinghong's injuries were extremely serious. Little handsome. Little martial. On the other side, the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the others were in a difficult battle. They could not help but exclaim when they sensed the situation here. Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang, who were watching the battle from afar, felt their hearts in their mouth. Little handsome Su and Su Yi's relationship was not ordinary. Moreover, that little bird was extremely extraordinary. At this moment, it was heavily smashed into the mountain range, and no one knew if it was dead or alive. Little handsome. Su Yi clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh, but he didn't feel any pain. He struggled to stand up and wanted to check on handsome Su, but his body suddenly swayed and he fell to the ground. Kill, in the sky, the 4 beast emperors, the Yin-Yang Abyss Flood Dragon, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Mystic Turtle Emperor, let out terrifying roars and continued to attack Luo Qing. The few of them were bleeding and were severely injured. They were already using the last of their strength to fight back. It would not be long before they followed in the footsteps of Little Handsome Su, Impermanence Fairy, the Green Emperor, and the Spirit-Devouring Emperor. They would all be suppressed. The terrifying battle continued. Streaks of energy rushed into the sky and broke through the heavens. The eyes of the people from the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect twitched. They were shocked and horrified. Such a vicious battle was frightening. The people from the Tiangang sect, who were far away, also twitched their faces. They were shocked by the ferocity of the Bawang sect. "It's time to end this." After Lu Yinghong took a few breaths, his old, turbid eyes flashed again. He looked at Luo Qing and was ready to turn around and attack. He wanted to finish off the remaining people from the Bawang sect as soon as possible, especially the most ferocious Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon. However, just as Luing Hong was about to move, the corner of his eye suddenly moved. He turned to look at the big pit below, and the expression on his old face froze for a moment. In the big pit that was dozens of feet deep, a five-colored light suddenly shone and appeared out of nowhere. The five-colored light was not vast at first, and it even looked a little weak. However, after a short while, the light suddenly increased explosively and became incomparably bright. It was as if a five-colored sun had risen from there. At the same time as this light appeared, a vast and boundless pressure appeared. It was as if it had pierced through the river of time and arrived in the present. It carried the dignity of a supreme being as it brazenly suppressed Luing Hong's soul. This is Ji Tianfu, Lin Zhenyang, Hong Qianlong, and the others, who were far away, also felt the powerful pressure in an instant. All of a sudden, a strange cry was heard, and it was rarely heard in the present world. When this sound was heard, whether it was Ji Tianfu, Lin Zhenyang, Hong Qianlong, or the others, Luing Hong who was above the big pit, or Luo Qing who was in the middle of battle, everyone's souls could not help but tremble a little. It was as if a god was about to be born, and its supreme ferocious power descended upon the world, causing all existences in the mortal world to tremble. Under their horrified gazes, the five-colored light in the big pit brazenly rushed into the air. When the five-colored light soared, everyone looked up and saw a strange divine bird rushing into the void like a sharp arrow. This divine bird was not huge, only dozens of feet in size, but its entire body was flowing with colorful light. The five-colored light appeared, and as its magnificent wings flapped, its tail feathers fluttered behind it, and specks of light were like stars adorning it. This is a phoenix. Everyone was stunned, and they were stunned on the spot. Their hearts were shocked to the extreme. No one present had seen this divine bird before, but according to countless ancient books and legends, they could tell at first glance that this was one of the most powerful creatures that existed in ancient times, the phoenix. According to rumor, in the extremely distant past, there were numerous extremely formidable living beings in the world. They could move freely through the four seas, roam the universe, look down upon the world, and stand above the myriad of living beings. There was no one that could rival them. They were born with incomparably powerful abilities, and when they opened their mouths, they could swallow thousands of miles of the sky, and when they were angry, they could crush the boundless earth. When they released their ferocious power, space would disintegrate, and the world would collapse. A roar could make all creatures in the heavens and on the earth tremble in fear. And the phoenix was one of these creatures, and it was endlessly powerful. In this world, there really are phoenixes. A series of gasps sounded, and all the onlookers' faces changed drastically. Little Handsome. When Sui saw this scene, he was as shocked as everyone else, and at the same time, his heart was filled with endless grief and indignation. Little Handsome Su's cultivation was still low, and he would have to pay a huge price for such an attack. However, before anyone could think any further, they saw the divine bird soar into the sky with a flap of its wings. Its speed was swift to the extreme, and under Luing Hong's stunned gaze, it fiercely smashed into his body. Bang! Luing Hong's body bent into the shape of a prawn, and he was sent flying into the clouds, with blood sprinkling down. After the collision, the divine bird seemed to have lost all its strength, and it fell from the sky again, crashing into the huge pit where it had been, and no longer made a sound. Everyone from the Xianjian sect, Liuhe sect, and Tiangang sect watched this scene happen in a daze, and they held their breaths, not even daring to breathe. This scene was too shocking. A phoenix had been born, and with a ferocious attack, it had slammed an origin ancestor realm expert into the clouds. On the other side of the battlefield, everyone stopped fighting, and the killing came to a temporary stop. Yin Yang Hell Flood Dragon, Purple Elephant Emperor, Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, Black Tortoise Emperor, and Luo Cheng all looked at the huge pit with trembling eyes, and did not speak for a long time. Whoosh! After an unknown period of time, the sound of wind breaking came from the sky, and everyone's thoughts were pulled back. Looking up, they saw an old figure falling rapidly, his limbs drooping weakly, his breath weak, and droplets of blood sprinkling down along with him. With a boom, the old figure finally crashed into the mine, stirring up a cloud of smoke and dust. Cough, cough. A moment later, a weak cough could be heard from there, but there was no other movement. All the onlookers gulped, and they were shocked. An Origin Ancestor Realm expert was injured just like that and could not move. The power of the Phoenix was indeed difficult to measure. Could that divine bird be the little bird from before? In the Tiangang sect, someone swallowed hard and said in shock. This was not a guess, and everyone was sure that the divine bird was definitely the little bird from before. However, what was frightening was that its cultivation, which was originally at the beginner level of the Demon Emperor realm, had exploded with such a terrifying power in an instant. Bastard! Such a furious roar came from Luo Cheng's mouth. His eyes were like cold lightning, and he was furious because of Luing Hong's serious injury. Everyone in the Bawang sect must die. Luo Cheng moved again in an instant, and the absolute territory suddenly spread out, enveloping the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor at the same time. A domineering aura exuded from Luo Cheng's body, and all the primordial qi in his body surged out in an instant, and his figure rushed towards the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon. Seeing this, the four beast emperors moved in an instant and began to fight back. Kill! Luo Cheng roared, and used the absolute territory to drag the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon to his side. With a punch, he smashed the black and white light beam that was coming at him. Then, his 5 fingers became claws, and directly grabbed the flesh of the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon's neck, while his other hand clenched into a fist and fiercely punched down. Roar! The Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon hissed, and with a twist of his tail, he whipped Luo Cheng's body again and again. Both of their bodies were smashed into pieces, and the scene was extremely tragic. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the attacks of the Purple Elephant Emperor and the other 2 arrived, and finally shook Luo Cheng away, releasing the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon. Chapter 1203. Luo Cheng's entire body was dripping with blood. The scene was miserable, and his body was even swaying. However, the fighting spirit in his body was still high. He turned around fiercely and took one step after another. He appeared in front of the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Mystic Turtle Emperor. Every time he appeared, he would throw a heavy punch, smashing the 3 beast emperors until they spat out blood and fell from the sky one by one. The Yin-Yang Abyss Flood Dragon, who had suffered a heavy blow earlier, could not hold on any longer. After rolling in the void for a moment, it also smashed powerlessly into the mountains. The beast emperors no longer made a sound. Huff! Huff! After shooting down the beast emperors, Luo Cheng's body swayed and almost fell from the sky. He was incomparably weak and panted heavily. Bawang sect. These 3 words were squeezed out from between his teeth. Anger and hatred mixed together, and Luo Cheng's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. The situation today was beyond his expectations. As an Origin Ancestor Realm expert, he was actually forced to such a miserable state. This Bawang sect was indeed extraordinary. Fortunately, they were going to die today. Luo Cheng's fierce gaze turned and looked at a young figure below. It was the sect master of the Bawang sect, Su Yi. The young man tried his best to support his body. The large saber in his hand was on the ground as he walked on the mountain with difficulty. His goal was the large pit not far away. In the pit was the phoenix from before. What a Bawang sect! It's really surprising. At the Heavenly Dipper sect, Hong Qianlun clenched his fists tightly. He was shocked by everything that had happened. It was actually so difficult for two Origin Ancestor Realm experts of the Jade Tripod sect to join forces to deal with the Bawang sect. Looking at the miserable appearance of the two of them, it was too difficult to accept. Sect Master, shouldn't we make a move? In the distance, an expert of the Six Unity sect asked Lin Zhenyang in a deep voice. Everyone from Xianjian faction turned around and looked at Ji Tianfu, waiting for his instructions. There was no one left in the Bawang sect who could fight, and even though Luo Cheng was heavily injured, it would still be easy for him to kill Su Yi. I wonder how those beast emperors are doing, Ji Tianfu murmured, then waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Swish, more than 10 figures flashed by, quickly landing on the mountain and appearing in front of Su Yi. He actually has a helper? Luo Cheng involuntarily lifted his eyebrows and spoke in a deep voice when he saw the people from the two sects appear. With a sneer, he landed not far from Su Yi. "Kid, how are you?" Ji Tianfu felt a chill in his heart, but he did not pay too much attention to Luo Cheng. Instead, he looked at Su Yi and asked with concern, "I'm not dead yet." Su Yi shook his head and said, "Sect Leader Ji, Faction Leader Lin, you don't have to worry about me for now. I need your help to find the Green Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the others and ensure their safety." What he was most worried about now was the condition of the Beast Emperors. He did not know if their lives were in danger. "How can I not care about you?" Ji Tianfu frowned, unwilling to do so. Su Yi was heavily injured. If he did not take care of him, Luo Cheng could easily kill him with one blow. However, with the strength of the people from Xianjian faction, even if Luo Cheng was heavily injured, they might not be able to stop him. "Sect Leader Ji, Faction Leader Lin, please." Su Yi's face turned solemn as he said again. Ji Tianfu was helpless. He waved his hand and ordered the rest of the people from Xianjian faction to spread out and find all the Beast Emperors and bring them back. However, he did not leave and stood beside Su Yi. It was the same for Lin Zhenyang. Origin Ancestor Realm. I have lived for dozens of years and have never seen one before. I never thought that I would be able to fight against such an existence one day. Lin Zhenyang smiled and said as he looked at Luo Cheng, who was slowly walking over from a short distance away. He and Ji Tianfu, one on the left and one on the right, stood on both sides of Su Yi, firmly protecting him. Great! Seeing this, Luo Cheng could not help but laugh coldly again. He could not imagine that there were two people from third-rate forces who wanted to interfere in this matter. Xianjian faction and Liuhe sect are really courting death. On the other side, the people from Tiangang faction could not help but mock when they saw this scene. After all, Luo Cheng was an Origin Ancestor realm. Even if he was heavily injured, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. An ordinary Origin Emperor would not be able to stop him. Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang together would not be able to stop him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, there was a sudden gust of wind. Then, under everyone's gaze, a few figures appeared not far away. They came to the middle of the field, and stood on the mountain, not far away from Su Yi and the rest. The people from Songyun Hall. Everyone was stunned, including the people from Tiangang faction who were watching from afar. Looking at the figures, they were the experts from Songyun Hall. Who would have thought that the matter here would alarm this first-rate force? Elder Xie. Su Yi was taken aback and stopped in his tracks. He recognized the old man in the lead. Wasn't he Elder Xie Wushu, who spoke up for him when he was besieged by the Heavenly Dipper sect in the Myriad Spirits' secret realm? What he did not understand was why Elder Xie had come here at this time and landed directly on the field. He did not know what Songyun Hall's intention was. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Just as Elder Xie arrived, a series of gusts of wind sounded one after another. There were figures coming from different directions and quickly coming to the vicinity. However, most of the figures were like Tiangang faction. They maintained a distance and watched quietly. With a rough look, there were no less than a few hundred people from various factions. Most of them were itinerant cultivators, but these people's cultivations were all very powerful. Most of them were at the Origin Emperor realm, and there were many at the Origin Void realm. Soon, after everyone arrived, they gradually made a rough assessment of the situation in the field and identified Luo Cheng's identity. When they saw that Su Yi was still able to barely stand and Luo Cheng, who was opposite him, was also in an extremely sorry state, everyone's hearts were filled with indescribable shock. The Bawang sect is actually so strong that he can make an Origin Ancestor realm expert so miserable. Many people were extremely shocked. Half of Luo Cheng's shoulder was blown apart, and there was not a single place on his body that was intact. His aura was also extremely weak. This was too terrifying. That was the Origin Ancestor realm. Look over there. That person seems to be the other Origin Ancestor realm expert of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. It's Lu Yinghong. An expert shouted. Everyone looked over and saw an old man. Cough cough. Chapter 1204. At this moment, Lu Yinghong's eyes were unfocused, and his body was motionless. There was a fist-sized hole in his chest, and it seemed like he was about to die. That's still an Origin Ancestor, and he's about to die. A series of gasps sounded. Everyone's heartbeat accelerated at this moment, and it was like a drum beating on their chests. Lu Yinghong was definitely not going to survive. He was hanging there with his last breath, and it would not be long before he stopped breathing completely. This situation was too horrifying, and it was even more terrifying than Luo Cheng being heavily injured. An Origin Ancestor was going to die just like that? How could they believe it? The tiny Bawang sect actually had such strength? In that instant, the hearts of everyone who had come from all over the place were filled with shock and fear. They now had a whole new understanding of the Overlord sect. Previously, they had sensed a terrifying energy soaring into the sky from afar, and it must be related to Lu Yinghong. However, they did not know that it was a phoenix. Dark Cloud Palace, 9 Stars Valley, Blood Sun Sect, Heavenly Dipper Sect, Dark Een Sect on the mountain. Su Yi's gaze swept across the surroundings, and he took in the identities of the people who came. Other than Elder Xie and the others from Dark Cloud Palace who were approaching him, Elder Tang from 9 Stars Valley had also come, but he was alone. In addition, Elder Bai from Blood Sun Sect had also brought a few people with him. Su Yi had a deep impression of this old fellow. Previously, outside the Myriad Spirits' secret realm, Elder Bai Zun had actually tricked him. On the surface, it seemed like he was trying to stop the fight, but in reality, he was trying to make him meet the muzzle of the Heavenly Dipper sect. If it was not for the fact that Su Yi had already broken through to the 5th level of the Origin Void stage and had extraordinary techniques, he would have died in the hands of the peak 9th level Origin Void stage powerhouse from the Heavenly Dipper sect. Therefore, Su Yi did not have a good impression of Elder Bai. On the other hand, Elder Tang from 9 Stars Valley had spoken up for him, just like Elder Xie. "Old fellow, you're here too." Dark Cloud Palace's Elder Xie Wushu said with a smile, as he looked around and his gaze landed on Elder Tang from 9 Stars Valley. "You came faster than me," Elder Tang said indifferently. His tone did not change at all. The two of them looked at the other side at the same time. It was the Blood Sun Sect's lineup. When they saw Elder Bai Zun, Xie Yuanshu and Tang Wang could not help but frown. They did not say anything and only nodded as a form of greeting to Elder Bai. After a while, everyone recovered from the shock. "Luo Qing, long time no see." Elder Xie turned his head and smiled at Su Yi. Then, he looked at Luo Qing and said, "Xie Wushu. It has indeed been a long time." Luo Qing's eyes flashed with light. He didn't have any emotional fluctuations from meeting an old friend. He only asked with a cold gaze, May I know why the Blue Cloud Hall has come? He stared straight at Elder Xie, wanting to hear the other party's answer. There was very little friction between the Blue Cloud Hall and the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, and they did not have a deep relationship. Otherwise, the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect would not have been able to successfully rise in the Chaos region hundreds of years ago. However, it was very strange. Elder Xie's appearance was obviously not just to watch the show. This made Luo Qing a little cautious. Luo Qing, I won't beat around the bush with you. On account of our acquaintance, you can leave and take good care of the Jade Tripod sect. With your cultivation, you still have a high chance of standing in the Chaos domain again. As for this young man from the Bawang sect, it's better if you don't kill him. Elder Xie opened his mouth and said these words. After the surrounding onlookers heard this, they were all stunned. They could not believe that the Blue Cloud Hall had come to protect Su Yi and the Bawang sect. The Blue Cloud Hall is actually helping the Bawang sect again. On the Heavenly Dipper sect's side, Hong Qianlung's eyes were filled with deep anger. So this old ghost has really taken a fancy to that brat Su Yi. In the Blood Sun sect, Elder Bai's expression could not help but turn gloomy. However, he tried his best to restrain himself and did not show it too obviously. He glanced at Elder Tang Wang again. Perhaps this old ghost's purpose was the same as Xie Wushu's? Elder Bai's eyes flashed with coldness. These two fellows might be detrimental to his plan. In addition, forces such as the Dark Yin sect were also looking at the scene in surprise. They were surprised by Elder Xie's words. Xie Wushu, are you trying to stop me? Luo Qing's face was pulled long as he stared straight at Xie Wushu and said. Things had already come to this point. The Bawang sect had lost all its combat strength. He did not expect Elder Xie to suddenly appear and ask him to stop. How could Luo Qing accept this? However, he knew that regardless of whether Xie Wushu spoke on behalf of the Blue Cloud Hall or himself, it was not something that he, Luo Qing, could really refuse. It can't be considered stopping. This brat just has a little relationship with me. I'm only stepping in for him today. As for the hatred between the two of you, I won't interfere in the future. Elder Xie looked at Luo Qing and said. For a moment, Luo Qing's heart was filled with coldness, but at the same time, his mind was racing. Asking him to give up on killing Su Yi and the others, that was too much for him. However, if he rejected Xie Wushu, he might not even be able to survive. Seeing that Lu Yinghong was on the verge of death, and thinking about the tragic deaths of dozens of Jade Tripod Alchemy sect's origin emperors, how could he swallow this anger? That brat is really lucky. There are actually people from the Blue Cloud Hall standing up for him. In the distance, many onlookers sighed. Most of them were Origin Emperors and Origin Void Realm itinerant cultivators. That Origin Ancestor Realm expert of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect shouldn't dare to refuse, right? Someone said. They had already seen that Luo Qing's expression was getting uglier and uglier. He was holding it in until it turned purple, but there was nothing he could do. He did not speak. He was definitely worried about the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Xie. The Bawang sect can't be destroyed. Then Su Yi's life will be saved again. Unless the Nine Stars Valley and the Blood Sun sect intervene, no one will touch the Bawang sect anymore. Many people were discussing. They felt that it was really strange that the Bawang sect had actually taken a turn for the better at this moment. However, at this moment, a soft snort was heard. Then, everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a group of people flying down from the sky. They also stood not far away from Su Yi, Luo Qing, the Blue Cloud Hall, and the others. Heavenly Dipper sect. What is Hong Qianlung doing? Everyone was puzzled. The people who landed were the group of people from the Heavenly Dipper sect, led by Hong Qianlung. Elder Xie, we had an agreement outside the vast spirit-mystic realm that the three first-rate forces would not interfere in the grudge between our Heavenly Dipper sect and the Bawang sect. I just don't know if you still remember Elder Xie? Chapter 1205. When they heard Hong Qianlung's words, the others did not react. However, Luo Qing squinted his eyes and felt much better. It seemed that there was a deep hatred between the Bawang sect and the Tiangang sect. You really know how to take advantage of the situation. Su Yi's eyes flickered as he stared deeply at Hong Qianlong. At this moment, Hong Qianlong was also staring at him with a murderous look. This fellow suddenly jumped out, absolutely wanting to put him to death. It's true. Elder Xie nodded. However, his eyebrows were furrowed so deeply that they were about to pile up together. Being forced by Hong Qianlong made Elder Xie feel very unhappy in his heart. Elder Xie, it's good that you admit it. Hong Qianlong smiled and said, if that's the case, I'll take Su Yi away. It's time to settle the score with this little bastard for killing my only son. He looked back and forth at the people from the 3 first-rate forces, wanting to see the reaction of Elder Xie and the others. Hong Qianlong, if I remember correctly, the person who suggested it was Bai Zun from the Blood Sun sect. It has nothing to do with the Blue Cloud Palace or the 9 Stars Valley. Suddenly, an old man spoke. He was none other than the 9 Stars Valley's Elder Tang. As he spoke, he descended from the sky and stood beside Elder Xie. He looked at Hong Qianlong with burning eyes. They are Su Yi heard the words of Elder Xie and Elder Tang. He could not help but have a different feeling in his heart. He did not have much interaction with them. They were not friends at all. He did not expect them to speak up for him at this time. For no reason, Su Yi's heart palpitated slightly. Hong Qianlong's expression immediately turned ugly. That was indeed the case. Back then, Elder Bai of the Blood Sun sect was the one who suggested it. If Su Yi hadn't taken the initiative to agree, Elder Xie and Elder Tang would have tried to stop him. The two of you, I'm afraid this is somewhat inappropriate. At this moment, Elder Bai also spoke at the right time. He led the people of the Blood Sun sect and landed beside Luo Qing, Hong Qianlong, and the others. He looked at the group of people opposite him and said, it was indeed my suggestion. However, the 3 great forces were present. If the two of you don't admit it, then I have nothing to say. If that's the case, then my Blood Sun sect will have to intervene. It just so happens that this old man has some matters to discuss with little brother Su Yi. You can come to my Blood Sun sect for a chat. As he spoke, the corners of his mouth curled up. There were only 5 people from the Azure Cloud Hall, and only Tang Wang from the 9 Stars Valley. In total, there were only 6 experts. On the other hand, the Blood Sun sect had dispatched 8 experts. Green Cloud Hall and 9 Star Valley had sent 3 Origin Ancestor Realm cultivators, and the Blood Sun sect had sent 3 of them. Therefore, Elder Bai was completely unafraid of Xie Wushu and Tang Wang. Once the battle started and the Big Dipper sect intervened, Su Yi would definitely not be able to escape. This old fox is still scheming against me. Su Yi saw everything clearly. Bai Zun had been scheming against him since the beginning, and he still wanted to trick him even now. Anyone with a discerning eye would know that the talk was just a pretense. However, the situation had changed again and again. If Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others were restrained by the Blood Sun sect, the Big Dipper sect and Luo Qing would definitely trample on him easily. Bai Zun, Elder Xie opened his mouth and was about to say something, but he was suddenly interrupted by Su Yi. Elder Xie, Elder Tang. Su Yi supported his body with his broadsword and looked at the two of them. Thank you for speaking up for me. I, Su Yi, will remember all your good intentions. However, all of this is my Bawang sect's business. The two of you can help me now, but you can't help me forever. Therefore, let me handle everything from now on. The two of you can just watch from the side. Su Yi spoke softly, but an unyielding aura surged from his body. Elder Xie and Elder Tang were both stunned by this young man's domineering aura. For no reason, Luo Qing, Hong Qianlong, Bai Zun, and the others all felt an absolute valiant aura from this young man. What they couldn't understand was that this young man was obviously in a desperate situation. They also didn't know where this young man's spirit came from. This young man really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The experts from the Blue Cloud Palace and 9-Star Valley came forward, but they were rejected by him. Isn't he courting death? What other way can he deal with it? Other than courting death, there's no other way. After a while, the crowd watching from afar burst into heated discussions. Sui was too unusual. He actually rejected the good intentions of the experts from 2 first-rate forces. Originally, with the protection of Elder Xie and the others, he still had a chance to survive. However, he rejected this opportunity directly. This made many people think that this young man was really stupid. Luo Qing, Hong Qianlong, and Elder Bai couldn't help but laugh coldly in their hearts. Elder Xie and Elder Tang were speechless for a moment. They wanted to say something, but they saw the young man resolutely turn around and wave his hand to signal Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang to ignore him. He then used his saber to support himself on the ground and walked towards the big pit not far away. Everyone looked at him. Hong Qianlong and the others didn't immediately make a move because they wanted to know what this young man wanted to do. Old dog, you're still struggling at death's door. Die. When Sui passed by Luinghong, he stopped in his tracks and muttered to himself. He stood up straight and then raised the saber in his hand with some effort. Little bastard, how dare you! When he saw this, Luo Qing, who was behind him, immediately cried out in alarm. Needless to say, Sui wanted to kill Luinghong completely. As he shouted, he pounced forward and charged towards Sui. Luinghong was already on the verge of death. If Sui killed him, Luo Qing wouldn't be able to accept it. There's nothing in this world that I, Sui, don't dare to do. These words came out of Sui's throat. He didn't care about the commotion behind him. He raised his saber high above his head and then slashed it down fiercely. Pft! Blood floated up and spurted out from the broken neck. A head rolled gently. In an instant, Luinghong, the Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouse who had been hanging on by a thread after being attacked by Sui, was finally finished off by Sui with a single slash of his saber. This kid. Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others were stunned once again. The young man's actions were obviously a provocation to Luo Qing. Little bastard, you're courting death. Luo Qing's loud roar was heard. The young man's actions were a heavy slap to the face of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. Cutting off the head of his companion in front of him was intolerable. Chapter 1206. If you want to kill him, you'll have to get past us first. Just as Luo Qing moved, Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang moved as well. 2 streaks of dazzling sword light appeared, one on the left and one on the right. They attacked Luo Qing at the same time, trying to block his path. You dare to stop me? Luo Qing's eyes widened in anger as he roared. His entire body's aura spread out like flowing water. A punch shook the air and broke through the heavens. Accompanied by the aura of the Origin Ancestor Realm, this punch was so terrifying that it seemed to be made of metal. It was brazen and peerless. Facing this, Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang both felt some pressure. The origin energy within their bodies circulated madly as they exerted all their strength to shoot out a vast sword light that fiercely collided with the terrifying fist. Boom! Boom! In a split second, 2 loud noises were heard, creating a loud explosion in the void. The 2 sword lights only lasted for a moment before they exploded and turned into dust. However, the light fist that Luo Qing had unleashed was also shattered into nothingness. All of its strength was scattered. Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang felt their chests tighten at the same time. Their figures retreated rapidly with shock on their faces. They only managed to stabilize their bodies after retreating several hundred feet. On the opposite side, Luo Qing, who was in a sorry state, managed to stop himself after retreating several hundred feet. He is indeed an origin ancestor realm expert. He is simply too powerful. Even with two high-level origin emperors joining forces, they are still at a disadvantage. Many people around could see that Luo Cheng was severely injured, and his strength was less than 10%. However, even so, he still managed to push Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang back at the same time, gaining the upper hand. Read the original chapter, Upper Heaven. From this, one could see the true terror of an origin ancestor realm expert. Even if he was at the end of his rope, he was still not someone an ordinary person could match. The gap between the origin emperor realm and the origin ancestor realm was indeed too big. Hong Qianlong and the rest, who had witnessed everything, were even more shocked. This was because Su Xiaoshui, who was merely a demon emperor realm expert, had transformed into a colorful phoenix and delivered Lu Yinghong to the gates of hell. From this, it could be seen that the bloodline of that ancient supreme being was even more terrifying. How can you stop me? Luo Cheng's eyes were like a tiger's as he stared at Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang, who were pouncing towards him once again. You'll know once you try. Ji Tianfu snorted coldly, but he was not afraid. He raised his sword and attacked again. Lin Zhenyang followed closely behind. As the two of them sprinted, their auras surged violently like a surging river. The probing just now had given them an idea of what was going on. Luo Cheng was indeed very strong, but he was an arrow at the end of its flight. It was impossible for him to injure the two of them in a short period of time. Thus, in an instant, Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang clashed with Luo Cheng once again. A bright radiance blossomed as the battle started again. Luo Cheng tried to break through the blockade of the two origin emperors, but Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang held him tightly, not allowing Luo Cheng to get close to Su Yi. At this moment, Elder Bai from the Blood Sun sect sneered at the sight of the battle. Elder Xie, Elder Tang, that lad doesn't need your help. I wonder what the two of you think? Elder Bai chuckled as he looked at Xie Wu Su and Tang Wang. The two elders only glanced at him indifferently, but did not express their opinions. They knew Bai Zun better. This old fellow was an old fox through and through. The reason he said that was just to make the two of them angry at Su Yi. What is this lad trying to do? Xie Wu Su muttered as he looked at the lad who was walking towards the huge pit with his saber. He was getting more and more confused. Tang Wang, who was beside him, was also silent. He did not understand Su Yi at all. That lad had rejected their good intentions. If the two of them were to intervene now, it would be inappropriate. However, Hong Qianlong could not help but sneer in his heart. He felt that Su Yi did not know what was good for him. Without the protection of Green Cloud Hall and 9 Stars Valley, let's see how you can survive today. As Hong Qianlong spoke, he took a step forward. The aura of a half-step to Yuan Zong spread out in the air. His robes fluttered and his eyes were cold. After glancing at Elder Xie and Elder Tang, he took a step forward and walked slowly towards Su Yi. He was not fast, but with every step he took, his aura would surge. Little handsome. At this moment, Su Yi had already reached the side of the huge pit. He jumped down and landed heavily at the bottom of the pit. This fall almost made Su Yi faint. Beside him, little handsome Su's body had returned to its original gray and ordinary appearance. At this moment, little handsome Su had already fainted and was unconscious. There were traces of blood on his feathers and the corner of his mouth. It was a ghastly sight. When Su Yi saw this, his heart ached for little handsome Su. While no one was near the huge pit, Su Yi instantly opened up the mysterious space and sent little handsome Su in. Merciless West and Lei Yunhe were regulating their breathing and did not notice Su Yi's arrival. Ji Hanua was also unconscious. After handing little handsome Su to the blood spirit for reference, Su Yi immediately exited the mysterious space. Little handsome Su, prepare to die. A silhouette in a brocade robe appeared above the huge pit. His sleeves fluttered in the air, showing the aura of a superior. This person was Hong Qianlong. He looked at Su Yi coldly with a murderous aura. "It won't be that easy to kill me." Su Yi's lips curled into a cold smile as he said softly. After that, he did not look at Hong Qianlong who had fallen into the huge pit. Instead, he looked at the mountain rocks on both sides of the huge pit. When he saw that they were sparkling and translucent, Su Yi's lips curled up. At the same time, a crazed look appeared in his eyes, and there was also a strong sense of pleasure. The Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect, the Heavenly Dipper Sect, and the Blood Sun Sect, I won't let any of them off. Su Yi muttered and said in a low voice, "Then today, starting from the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect and the Heavenly Dipper Sect, all those who have designs on my Bawang Sect will go to hell one by one." As he muttered to himself, Su Yi stretched out a palm and gently placed it on the sparkling and translucent mountain rocks on both sides. Following this action, Hong Qianlong, who was coming down, instinctively felt that something was wrong. He seemed to feel an incomparably dangerous aura from the youth's body, but this aura was very ethereal and unpredictable. Hong Qianlong frowned, wondering if he was hallucinating. "Let's see what kind of tricks you can play, little brat," Hong Qianlong shouted in a deep voice, and the power of an absolute domain spread out from his body, wanting to envelop Su Yi. Chapter 1207. Su Yi stood at the bottom of the huge pit and looked at the huge barbaric tiger charging towards him. His face was filled with madness. Just as Hong Qianlong was about to unleash a chilling aura in his heart and saw that the young man was about to die under his attack, he suddenly felt an absolutely domineering aura rise up from the void. At the same time, a whirlpool formed on the young man's palm. It was right next to the stone wall. In the blink of an eye, the whirlpool expanded infinitely and ferociously towards the surroundings. Vast and unparalleled energy filled the air, carrying with it an unstoppable force. In the next moment, Su Yi's body was engulfed by the energy whirlpool. Chi-Chi, a powerful force, burst out from the whirlpool and turned into a terrifying tearing force. Ao, when Hong Qianlong's barbaric tiger came close to Su Yi and came into contact with the whirlpool, it let out a howl. Then, under Hong Qianlong's shocked gaze, the ferocious barbaric tiger was torn into pieces and swallowed by the huge whirlpool. Rumble, this was just the beginning. The huge mine suddenly let out a loud rumbling sound. The ground was shaking and cracking rapidly. The mine was like a watermelon that had been exposed to the scorching sun. With a series of ka-ka-ka sounds, the cracks crisscrossed and the mine was about to be torn apart. In these cracks, an endless amount of pure energy surged and flowed through Su Yi's palm into his body. It passed through his meridians and flowed into the void spirit sea, cleansing every inch of his body. In the end, this vast amount of energy entered an unknown place and disappeared. What happened? This scene made the people from the various superpowers dumbfounded. They did not know what had happened. Even Hong Qianlong, who was charging towards Su Yi, was stunned. He stopped in his tracks and was stunned. Su Yi, who was in the middle of the whirlpool, had his eyes wide open. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain of the endless amount of energy entering his body. The Bawang sect had been mining the huge mine for several months, but there was still a large amount of primeval stones that had not been excavated. At this time, Su Yi revolved the primordial origin supreme art. The mysterious space began to crazily swallow the strength of the source stones. Nangong Ningyu, Wang Zhenquan, and the others estimated that there were many high-grade essence stones in this mine. There were even many fourth-grade essence stones. Therefore, under Su Yi's stimulation, a terrifying energy surged up like an ocean, rolling in the void. At the same time, a roar came from Su Yi's mouth. Rise. Su Yi's other hand formed a series of mystical seals. With his powerful will, he forcefully changed the circulation paths of the primordial chaos supreme technique and the Heaven Fei ancient sutra. The boundless energy also had its trajectories forcefully changed. An unknown amount of energy surged through Su Yi's meridians, condensing into Su Yi's hand seals. In an instant, his entire body was suffused with light, emitting a golden light that was as resplendent as the sunset. It enveloped Su Yi within it, and a hissing sound that pierced through the clouds and cracked rocks resounded from within, shooting straight up into the 9 heavens. Rumble, following that, a series of thunderous roars resounded from the top of the sky. Endless clouds rapidly gathered, and the sky instantly darkened. The sky was filled with wind and thunder. A mysterious energy circulated, bringing with it an unparalleled might. A phenomenon appeared between the heaven and earth. In the next instant, a divine bird that resembled a phoenix spread its wings from the pit. It was suffused with crimson flames, and its eyes looked disdainfully at the world. Its terrifying aura was astonishing to the extreme. This beast phantom was massive, with a body of 1,000 feet. The beast phantom was vivid and lifelike. Its crimson eyes seemed to contain 2 seas of fire, like 2 blazing suns rising in the sky. It was like a matchless phoenix had crossed through ancient times, connecting the heavens and earth. Everything about it was horrifying to the extreme. In the sky, everyone who witnessed this scene was dumbfounded. The people from the Palace of Green Cloud, 9 Stars Valley, Blood Sun Sect, Tiangang Sect, Dark Een Sect, and a large number of rogue cultivators were all extremely shocked. Emperor Sparrow. That's the Emperor Sparrow. It's Su Yi's terrifying technique. Someone screamed in shock, and all the pairs of eyes were trembling with fear. They remembered all the legends about the young man, and naturally, they knew about some of the powerful techniques he had mastered. The most important one was how terrifying the Emperor Sparrow's techniques were. There was a legend in ancient times: the dragon gives birth to 9 sons, and the phoenix gives birth to 9 chicks. According to legends, the phoenix gives birth to 9 chicks, and they are the Emperor Sparrow, the Phoenix King, the Peacock, the Great Roc, the Crimson Phoenix, the Swan Ni, the Blue Phoenix, the Swan Ni, and the Swan. The Emperor Sparrow is the eldest of the 9 chicks. It must be related to the mine. He is absorbing the energy of the mine. An expert recalled the matter of the 7-star Sword Sect's mineral reserve in the past. After Su Yi made a trip there, all the origin stones in the mountain range had turned into powder, and all the energy had disappeared. It was extremely strange. That young man Luo Qing, Ji Tianfu, and Lin Zhenyang had stopped fighting. They flew up into the sky and looked down in shock. The people from the other forces also distanced themselves and looked at the situation from afar. They saw the mythical bird in the crater flapping its wings and spreading them wide. As it flapped its wings, boundless flames surged out. Under Hong Qianlung's astonished gaze, the mythical bird instantly appeared in front of him. "You overestimate yourself." When Hong Qianlung said those words, he was extremely shocked. In an instant, he condensed the power of the absolute territory and formed a strong defense around him. At the same time, the sharp golden aura shot out in all directions. A golden saber light suddenly formed and slashed at the illusory Emperor Sparrow in front of him. Boom! The bright flames and the huge saber collided. The heaven and earth shook, and a violent force rolled out in all directions. The rocks in the mine were rolled up and then crushed into powder. The crater around Su Yi, under the effect of the unparalleled power, once again expanded on a large scale, and the surroundings became flat in an instant. The Emperor Sparrow opened its beak and rushed into the energy fragments in the sky. Its sharp claws stretched across the sky and scratched at Hong Qianlung. A sound like silk being torn apart was heard. Under the sharp claws of the Emperor Sparrow, the absolute territory that Hong Qianlung had condensed was torn apart and turned into powder like a piece of cloth. "Those who offend the Bawang sect shall be killed." These words came out of Su Yi's mouth. He was in the center of the energy vortex. His body was like a whale sucking in water, and he absorbed all the energy into the illusory Emperor's sparrow. Chapter 1208. However, Su Yi clenched his teeth and fought desperately for a portion of the energy that was supposed to enter the mysterious space. Ku, the Emperor's sparrow's shadow, let out another cry. Its monstrous aura was all-pervasive and ferocious as it pressed down on Hong Qianlong with its ancient might. Scram! Hong Qianlong's face was extremely solemn as he looked at the Emperor's sparrow's shadow that was charging towards him. He did not dare to underestimate it at all. Ever since the absolute space around him had been torn apart, he had retreated into the air. Dazzling golden light erupted from Hong Qianlong's body like a blazing sun. It was so blinding that people could not open their eyes. The boundless golden light turned into a pillar of light that shot towards the Emperor's sparrow's shadow. Ku, the Emperor's sparrow's eyes were filled with a sea of fire as it stretched out its sharp claws. It was filled with boundless red light as it met the attack. When the light pillar and the sharp claws collided, the sound of metal clashing was deafening. However, in the end, the terrifying light pillar was shattered once again, turning into specks of light that rained down from the sky. Seeing the Emperor's sparrow's shadow charging towards him, Hong Qianlong retreated without hesitation. He wanted to put some distance between them. However, the huge divine bird flapped its wings, and one of its wings turned into a large blade that swept out and cut Hong Qianlong's chest. Pfft! A muffled sound was heard as blood spurted out and dyed the sky red. Hong Qianlong is no match for it. Everyone in the crowd could see the situation. Even Hong Qianlong, who was a half-step to origin ancestor, was no match for the Emperor's sparrow's shadow. It was hard to believe, and they did not know how Su Yi had managed to do it. Hong Qianlong himself had also realized this. The Emperor's sparrow's power had shocked him. It was extraordinary. The wound on his chest was a mess of blood. If it had been any deeper, his sternum would have been broken. After seeing the situation clearly, Hong Qianlong retreated. He no longer wanted to fight the Emperor's sparrow head-on. "Since you're here, how can I let you escape so easily?" Below, Su Yi's eyes emitted a terrifying light. The pain in his body penetrated deep into his soul. His teeth were chattering and his muscles were twitching. Given his cultivation base, it should have been impossible for him to truly contend against a half-step Yuan ancestor if he used the Emperor's sparrow technique. However, after absorbing the pure energy from the endless ore mine, he had forcefully raised the might of the Emperor's sparrow technique to an unprecedented level. At the same time, he was fighting for energy with the mysterious space, so the pressure he had to bear was many times greater than before. If it weren't for his diamond body, and the fact that his physical body and soul had been tempered by the Golden Dragon's blood essence and Golden Dragon's soul respectively, he would have been torn to shreds by the boundless energy even if he had 10 lives. Kill! Seeing that Hong Qianlong was about to retreat, how could Su Yi let him leave so easily? After a shout, he leaped into the sky and landed on the back of the Emperor's sparrow. The young man was like a war god from the primordial era. He controlled the Emperor's sparrow, and an endless amount of energy flowed from his body into the Emperor's sparrow's shadow as he pounced towards Hong Qianlong. Gu, a loud chirp resounded through the void as the divine bird spread its wings and pounced towards Hong Qianlong. The scarlet flames that filled the sky moved and collided with Hong Qianlong's body. Bang! As the sound reverberated, the imposing figure flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Blood splattered all the way and dyed the sky red. At the same time, all the energy in Su Yi's body was depleted. The Emperor's sparrow's shadow slowly dissipated. However, before it completely disappeared, Su Yi landed steadily on the ground. Sect Master. Seeing that Hong Qianlong had been sent flying, The group of Yuan emperors from Tiangang's sect were shocked and quickly chased after him. After a short while, they finally brought Hong Qianlong back. The middle-aged man's body was charred, as if he had been burned by the 9 heavens' divine fire. His flesh was almost burnt through and the blood stains were black. His face was pale and blood was hanging from the corner of his mouth. His aura was weak and his throat was swollen as blood gushed out again. What a pity! He is only seriously injured. Su Yi, who had landed below, felt a little pity when he saw Hong Qianlong's condition. He had used the strongest attack of the Emperor Sparrow's technique, but still failed to kill Hong Qianlong. It was indeed a pity. At the same time, Su Yi's injuries had worsened. Every part of his body felt like it was going to shatter into pieces. It was excruciating. Good lad. He actually forced Hong Qianlong to retreat. In the Blue Cloud Palace's lineup, Elder Xie's eyes sparkled as he looked at Su Yi below and exclaimed. It was almost impossible for a young man at the Yuan Void Realm to force a half-step Yuan ancestor to retreat. However, Su Yi had done it. So what if he forced him to retreat? Can that lad do it again? Neither Tiangang's sect nor Luoqing will let him go. Elder Baizun of Blood Sun sect sneered and said softly. He did not think highly of Su Yi. No matter what the lad did, it was just a last-ditch struggle. No matter how shocking it would not change his ending today. As expected, Hong Qianlong's injury had infuriated the Yuan Emperor realm experts of Tiangang's sect. Little bastard, how dare you injure the sect master of Tiangang's sect? Die! An elder at the 9th level Yuan Emperor realm stepped down from the sky and went straight for Su Yi. Oh no! Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang both became serious when they saw this scene and immediately moved to stop him. However, another 2 people from Tiangang's sect came out and faced the 2 of them at the same time. Little bastard, you should die in my hands, Luo Qing said softly as he dragged his injured body down from the sky. He wanted to kill Su Yi before the experts from Tiangang's sect arrived. Are they coming together? That's great. It saves me the trouble of finding them one by one. Su Yi sneered again and put his palm on the ground again. Seeing his action, Luo Qing and the experts from Tiangang's sect stopped and did not dare to move forward. They saw the unparalleled energy swirling around the lad's body again and fluctuating violently in the sky. However, most of the energy had disappeared and no one knew where it went. He still has the strength to fight. Many people were surprised. They did not expect Su Yi to still be able to absorb the energy in the mine when he was severely injured. They did not know what kind of technique it was. It was so strange. No one had time to think about it. They were all looking at Su Yi as if they were waiting for Emperor Sparrow's technique to appear before their eyes again. Luo Qing and the expert at the 9th level Yuan Emperor realm were also prepared. They had distanced themselves from Su Yi and wanted to wait for his energy to be depleted before they launched a sure-kill attack. However, it was a good plan, but it went against their wishes. Chapter 1209. Wang Su Yi devoured the energy of the origin stones in the mine frantically, snatching them for his own use. At the same time, he activated the art of heaven mastery. The heaven origin demon soul in his mind opened its eyes as its soul power boiled. Suddenly, an illusory figure appeared behind Su Yi. Boundless golden light shot out explosively, so blinding that people could not open their eyes. The shadow was hundreds of feet long. It was a majestic golden dragon. It appeared in the void and looked down at Luo Qing and the rest. Those huge eyes were like 2 blazing suns as they spun around. The scales on the golden dragon's body were dense. Every inch of its muscles carried explosive energy and emitted a terrifying pressure. Su Yi, Luo Qing, and the 9th level Origin Emperor Realm Elder from the Big Dipper sect looked as small as ants in front of the golden dragon. Suddenly, the heaven origin demon soul in Su Yi's mind opened its mouth and roared. Following that, the golden dragon's eyes flickered and a dragon roar came from its throat. The roar was like a thunderclap. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions and shook the universe. It caused the surrounding space to tremble as wind and thunder gathered. In an instant, a formless energy turned into a terrifying storm and rushed towards Luo Qing and the Big Dipper sex expert who were not far away from Su Yi. The powerful torrent of energy instantly enveloped the two of them. What a terrifying energy! The pressure is too strong. The people from various forces in the distance also felt the terrifying energy fluctuation. The golden dragon carried an unparalleled pressure and descended on them. They had no choice but to circulate their origin chi to resist. Luo Qing and the 9th-level Origin Emperor Realm expert from the Big Dipper sect were the first to bear the brunt. They exerted their full strength and formed a light shield around their bodies to protect them. They had already seen Su Yi's means. He could even injure Hong Qianlong, a half-step Origin Ancestor Realm expert. The two of them did not dare to underestimate him. However, what the two of them did not expect was that when the energy torrent was about to reach them, the dragon's roar suddenly became louder and rang in their ears. The dragon's roar was like a large bell, but it was also like thunder. It carried a terrifying tearing force as it instantly rushed into the minds of Luo Qing and the expert from the Heavenly Dipper sect. Qi La, it was as if something was being torn apart. Subsequently, the 9th-level Origin Emperor Realm expert's body stiffened. His eyes suddenly popped out, and his face was filled with horror. Subsequently, he fell to the ground. At practically the exact same moment, Luo Qing's heavily injured body seemed as if it had been struck by a sledgehammer, and it fiercely struck his head. His eyes were on the verge of popping out of their sockets, and it was extremely terrifying. Then, the power around him suddenly collapsed, and the power of the absolute domain instantly vanished. Luo Qing slowly fell to the ground, and the vitality in his body slowly faded away. Huff huff, behind Su Yi, the golden dragon's shadow slowly dissipated. It did not cause much of a disturbance, while the heavenly Yuan demonic soul in his body also slowly calmed down. His body went limp and he fell to the ground once again. However, at this moment the surrounding crowd was dead silent. Everyone felt as though their throats were being squeezed, and they were unable to make a sound. Elder Xie, Elder Tang, Elder Bai, Hong Qianlong, Ji Tianfu, Lin Zhenyang, and the others were all looking at the young man on the mountain below with flickering eyes. After a long time, someone finally spoke with difficulty. Luo Qing and the others are dead. Along with the sound of someone's throat rolling, someone said in shock. There were no weaklings who came here. They could easily sense that Luo Qing and the 9th-level Origin Emperor Realm Elder from the Heavenly Dipper sect had lost their vitality and became two corpses on the ground. Needless to say, this scene was definitely related to the golden dragon shadow that Su Yi had used earlier. Most importantly, no matter if it was Luo Qing or the expert from the Heavenly Dipper sect, their bodies did not suffer any obvious injuries from the earlier scene. Even the expert from the Heavenly Dipper sect was completely fine, and there was not even a trace of blood flowing out. However, just like that, the two of them had fallen and died an unnatural death. Soul attack. This is a soul attack technique. Very soon, someone discovered this fact. Su Yi had used a soul attack and suddenly attacked, catching Luo Qing and the Origin Emperor Realm Elder off guard. We forgot that the young man is a powerful soul controller, someone muttered and said such a sentence. They then recalled Su Yi's identity as a soul controller. It seemed that for a long time many people had forgotten about this point. Until today when he used a soul attack technique. This was too shocking. There were not many soul attack techniques in this world. Even if there were very few soul controllers, not all of them had mastered such a technique. To alchemists, blacksmiths, or even ordinary martial artists, the effect of using a soul attack would not be too good. However, Su Yi had done it. Furthermore, He had caught them off guard and killed the two of them instantly. What kind of technique is this? How valiant is the young man's soul power? Everyone was shocked and shocked. An Origin Ancestor Realm expert and a 9th-level Origin Emperor Realm expert had died at the hands of Su-Yi just like that. It was too hard to imagine. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect shouldn't be able to stir up any waves now, right? Su-Yi himself did not care about everyone's surprise. He only thought to himself, killing those two people was only within his expectations. Others might not know, but he himself was very clear that his current soul power was already comparable to an ordinary high-level Origin Emperor Realm expert. In other words, in terms of soul power, he was not weaker than the 9th-level Origin Emperor Realm expert of the Heavenly Dipper sect. He might even be stronger. In addition to the power of the Heaven Origin Demon Soul and the art of Heaven Controlling, as well as the support of the world-suppressing Dragon Soul Roar, they were incomparably ferocious. In an instant, they rushed into the minds of Luo Qing and the old man, tearing their souls into pieces. Incredible! Incredible! Elder Xie of the Blue Cloud Hall was completely stunned. He kept muttering to himself, "This young man is really incredible." From now on, the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect can be considered to have been completely destroyed. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding people either silently nodded in agreement or remained silent with shock. Elder Xie was right. The only two Origin Ancestor Realm experts of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect had died here today. This was too shocking. In addition, dozens of Origin Emperor Realm experts had been killed by the Bawang sect earlier. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect could be said to exist in name only. The remaining Origin Emperor Realm experts were only slightly stronger than some third-rate forces. Compared to the Bawang sect, they could no longer stir up any waves. Chapter 12:10. In fact, several Origin Emperors of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect had already arrived nearby not long ago. As soon as they appeared, they saw from afar the scene of Su-Yi beheading the Origin Ancestor of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, Lu Yinghong. Just now, the youth had once again brazenly killed Luo Qing. This caused the few people from the Jade Tripod sect, who had just arrived, to feel a chill in their hearts. Taking advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was still on the Bawang sect, these people secretly communicated with each other and began to retreat silently with fear in their hearts. "Kid, how are you?" On the mine, Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang once again landed beside Su-Yi and asked with concern. Now that things had developed to such an extent, the shock in the hearts of these two experts could not be any greater. "I'm fine." Su-Yi shook his head and tried his best to sit cross-legged on the ground. He closed his eyes slightly and began to regulate his breathing. The injuries on his body were much more serious than before. The powerful energy poured into his body, coupled with the mysterious space snatching by others, at this moment, the muscles all over his body seemed to have been torn into pieces. The incomparable pain drilled straight into his heart. Su-Yi was also very glad. Fortunately, Luo Qing was already seriously injured. Otherwise, even if he used the world-suppressing Dragon Soul Roar, it would be very difficult to kill him completely. "Sect Master, what should we do?" In the distance, an Origin Emperor of the Heavenly Dipper sect supported Hong Qianlong and asked. Hong Qianlong clutched his chest. His eyes looked incomparably deep. He did not answer, and no one knew what he was thinking. However, everyone from the Heavenly Dipper sect looked at Su-Yi with deep fear. That youth's performance was too shocking. First, he seriously injured the sect master of the Heavenly Dipper sect, Hong Qianlong. Then, he killed Luo Qing and the 9th-level Origin Emperor of the Heavenly Dipper sect. No one knew if he still had the strength to attack. Therefore, there was no movement in the crowd for a long time. The people of the Heavenly Dipper sect just stared at Su-Yi without moving, but no one dared to step forward rashly. This kid is really rare. Elder Tang of the Nine Stars Valley stood together with the people of the Tsangyun Hall. His face was filled with complex emotions. Once again, he had a whole new level of respect for Su Yi. His expression was filled with admiration for the young man. He glanced at the people from the Blood Sun sect on the other side, only to see a strange smile on Elder Baizun's face. Then, he gently stepped forward and said, "The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect is really weak. Without them jumping around, it's much quieter." Hearing his words, everyone present became alert. Su Yi also opened his eyes and looked at Baizun with Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang at the same time. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Nothing good will come out of this old fox's mouth. Su Yi thought to himself. He knew that Baizun was not a good person. Back then, outside the myriad spirits' mystic realm, it had schemed against him. At that time, it should have learned about the little beast from Wu Jiao. Who would have thought that after such a long time, that old ghost was still thinking about this matter? Other than that, Su Yi could not think of any other reason. "Elder Bai, could it be that you still want to invite young friend Su Yi to the Blood Sun sect for a chat?" Elder Xie immediately raised his eyebrows. The red robe on his body trembled as he asked. "That's right. This old man has the same intention." Following Elder Xie's question, Elder Bai did not restrain himself. Instead, he said directly, "Everyone in the Blood Sun sect has heard a lot about young friend Su Yi. Many people want me to bring him back for a chat. Since the matter here is almost settled, let's not delay any longer. Let's set off immediately." Baizun walked out step by step and headed straight in the direction of Su Yi. In an instant, Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang's bodies tensed up. The aura on Baizun's body pressed down for no reason, making the two of them feel that it was difficult to breathe. This old fox. Su Yi's expression became more and more unsightly. This scene was something he did not expect at the beginning. In the beginning, he did not expect that the battle with the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan would actually attract three first-rate forces at the same time. Moreover, the Blood Sun sect was still plotting against him. "Elder Bai, why would the sect master of your Blood Sun sect be interested in a young man? If he really has something to discuss, why didn't he come personally? Or wait for Su Yi's injuries to recover before paying a visit to your Blood Sun sect, right?" At this moment, Elder Xie Wushu of the Blue Cloud Hall took a step forward and blocked Elder Bai's path. At the same time, he spoke. The robe on his body fluttered slightly, but an absolutely domineering aura faintly spread out and collided with the aura that Elder Bai was emitting. The clothes on the two of them fluttered even though there was no wind. They were taut and fluttering. "Xie Wushu, you want to stop me?" Seeing Xie Wushu's actions, Baizun's pupils could not help but shrink slightly as he asked softly. Whether it was the small beast that Wu Jiao mentioned, the wooden chest of the demon-subduing sect, or the various treacherous methods on Su Yi's body, Baizun was filled with interest in this young man and wanted to obtain everything. However, Xie Wushu's action to stop him caused Baizun's heart to become extremely gloomy. However, his expression remained unchanged, and there was only a slight displeasure. "Baizun, at your age, don't you feel embarrassed to attack a 17-year-old youth?" Before Xie Wushu could speak, Elder Tang Wang snorted coldly and said. However, Baizun glanced at him indifferently and completely ignored him. There was no trace of embarrassment on his face. "Elder Tang is right. This Su Yi is just a youth. If you bully the young with your age, we will definitely not stand by and watch." Elder Xie looked at Baizun and said softly. He did not completely expose Baizun's disguise. All of this was out of consideration for the relationship between Green Cloud Hall and Blood Sun sect. At this time, he definitely could not easily involve the three great first-rate forces behind these people in a tit-for-tat confrontation. Otherwise, things would get out of hand. "Humph. Tang Wang, Xie Wushu, the two of you better take care of yourselves. This young man has nothing to do with the Blue Cloud Hall or the 9-Star Valley. If the two of you wish to stop me, don't blame me for being serious." Baizun snorted coldly. As he spoke, cold lightning shot out from his eyes. It was incomparably sharp. Around his body, bursts of blood-red light soared up. Like clouds, it fluctuated in the void and surged towards Elder Xie Wushu. "Baizun, looks like you want to fight. That's good. This old man has not exercised for many years. Today, I want to see how much you have improved over the years." Xie Wushu's usually benevolent face suddenly had a hint of tyranny on it. His body stood perfectly straight as his aura gushed forth like flowing water. A formless space expanded outwards, wanting to envelop Baizun within it. Chapter 12:11. In the face of Baizun's coercion, Elder Xie changed his original peaceful attitude and revealed a sharp edge. "This Green Cloud Hall's Elder Xie clearly wants to help us." Besides Su-Yi, Ji Tianfu muttered in disbelief. Lin Zhenyang nodded. Looking at the situation, Elder Xie seemed to want to fight with Baizun. "Green Cloud Hall," Su-Yi muttered. He was very grateful for Elder Xie's actions. From speaking up for him outside the Light Spirit's secret realm, to persuading Luo Qing not long ago, to confronting Baizun now, Elder Xie had always been helping him. Su-Yi knew that all of this was because of his strength. Green Cloud Hall was expressing goodwill. However, this did not affect the gratitude in Su-Yi's heart. Not everyone would choose to help you after seeing your endless potential, just like Elder Baizun of the Blood Sun sect. Su-Yi's eyes were as deep as water. He deeply remembered the Blood Sun sect and Baizun. He knew that if he was really brought to the Blood Sun sect, he would definitely not have a good ending. In just a short moment of contemplation, Xie Wushu and Baizun were already facing each other. At the same time, the experts from Green Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect stood behind the two of them. They all released their auras and faced each other. "Good. Very good." Baizun looked at Xie Wushu, who was blocking him, and released an icy aura. "Xie Wushu, since you want to meddle in other people's business, don't blame me for not showing you any mercy." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure immediately rushed out. A space energy rose from his body, and there was actually a blood-red radiance rolling in this space. It looked like a sea of blood was boiling, and it was extremely terrifying. This is also the Origin Ancestor realm. Su-Yi's eyes narrowed. He did not expect Baizun to be an Origin Ancestor realm expert. In just a moment, the blood-red space spread out and fiercely bounced towards Xie Wushu. However, when it came into contact with Elder Xie's absolute domain, it suddenly stopped. "Baizun, I will protect this kid today. If you want to do anything to him, you'll have to go through me first." Elder Xie was also angered. As he spoke, he stepped into the air and faced Baizun. Boom, boom, boom. A large amount of lightning rushed out of Xie Wushu's body like dancing dragons and snakes, completely enveloping his body. As the Yuan Qi in his body gathered, the dragons and snakes condensed. Finally, a huge lightning bolt shot towards Baizun. The two Origin Ancestor realm powerhouses faced each other and instantly started fighting. Everyone present cast their gazes over, including the remaining experts of the Tsangyan Palace and the Blood Sun sect. They were all prepared to act at any moment. I have never seen a battle Origin Ancestor realm expert battle. Su-Yi stood below, his eyes flashing as he watched this scene, his heart faintly shaken. He had never seen a fight between Origin Ancestor realm powerhouses, and he had never imagined that he would be able to witness it today. Under Baizun's gaze, the huge thunderbolt shot out like a wild dragon and fiercely attacked the absolute field domain around Baizun. With a ripping sound, the vast blood screen was torn apart. A crack appeared and extended towards Baizun. However, when it was 5 feet away from him, Baizun could not help but retreat. At the same time, His hands shot out streaks of blood-red light towards the lightning bolt. In the end, the huge lightning bolt was slowly exhausted. Under the pressure of the space domain, it was crushed into nothingness. Then let this old man see if your strength is enough. As Baizun said these words, a blood sun appeared behind him and slowly rose and fell. Baizun's hands formed a seal. Under his guidance, the blood sun gradually rose over his head and leaped hundreds of feet. As it rose into the air, the blood sun fiercely expanded and became dozens of feet wide. Humph! Xie Wushu didn't answer. He just snorted lightly and rushed towards Baizun again. At the same time, the terrifying blood sun was like a huge mountain that pressed down on his head. Xie Wusu's sleeves fluttered in the wind, and his feet stepped into the air. Streaks of lightning shot out one after another towards the blood sun. Rumble, as the two of them attacked, the void instantly trembled. Unparalleled energy surged endlessly, like a raging storm raging in midair. Above the blood sun, there was an unparalleled blood chi that shot out continuously. The surrounding air was dyed in a layer of red, as if it could erode all life in the world. The power of lightning exploded. It was extremely strong, destroying everything in its path. It was unstoppable. The two of them collided. Destructive light burst out and pierced through the sky. This was a battle between Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses. Everyone was focused on it. For most of the powerhouses present, this was a rare battle. Many of them had never seen it before. Under Baizun's control, the blood sun was like 100,000 mountains collapsing. Everywhere it passed, ripples were formed in the air. The ferocious thunderbolts blasted onto the surface, causing bright rays of light to explode one after another, causing it to tremble continuously. "Open for me." As these words burst out from Xie Wushu's throat, his eyes abruptly opened. Rumble, lightning roared in the air, producing a terrifying roar. In an instant, it went against the sky and hit the blood sun above his head. Rumble, a huge tremor shook the air and set off boundless sound waves that spread out in all directions. The blood sun exploded instantly. Terrifying blood-red energy shot out. The power of lightning also exploded and intertwined with each other, forming a terrifying storm that swept out crazily. Retreat. The people from the Green Cloud Palace and the Blood Sun sect, who were closer, immediately retreated. For many Origin Emperors, they could not withstand such an impact. In the eyes of the crowd, the vast energy storm swept out and wreaked havoc. Layers of ripples appeared in the air. It looked like the rising tide of the sea that kept spreading and fiercely sweeping away all existences. Puff, not far away, an Origin Void Realm itinerant cultivator could not dodge in time and was swept by the ripples. His body instantly exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist. He died an unnatural death. Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang had already seen that the situation was not good. They brought Su Yi and hid far away. What terrifying strength! The depths of the three's eyes were filled with shock. They were frightened by the strength of the Origin Ancestor Realm. Regardless of whether it was Xie Wushu or Baizun, each of their movements could stir up the power of space. This was extremely shocking. Chapter 12:12. While the spectators were still in shock, Xie Wusu stepped into the air, and the Origin Chi in his body surged as he charged into Baizun's absolute domain. "Baizun, show me your true abilities. You can't get past me with that little trick," Xie Wusu said. His hands were wrapped in endless lightning, one on the left and one on the right. He stabbed them into the void as if he was grabbing onto some kind of invisible existence. Then, he suddenly pulled. With a chi-la sound, a hole was torn in by Zun's absolute domain. Xie Wusu took the opportunity to get close to him and lightly struck out with his palm. There was nothing fancy about it and there was no powerful energy fluctuation. But it was such a light palm that Baizun didn't dare to underestimate. He also raised his hand to meet the attack. Under the cover of the endless bloodlight, a huge blood-red palm print was formed and hit Xie Wusu's palm. With a hong sound, light burst out and the two of them retreated at the same time. Xie Wusu only managed to stop himself after dashing out 1,000 feet. On the opposite side, Baizun staggered back. His feet created circles of ripples in the void, as if he was going to shatter the space. The scene was terrifying. When the last step landed, it was like a heavy drum being beaten, creating a loud dong sound. Under this attack, the two of them seemed to have a clear winner. Xie Wusu, you really want to stop me? Don't tell me that your Blue Cloud Palace wants to start a war with my Blood Sun sect? Baizun shouted. His robes fluttered and his unparalleled energy surged, forming a blood-red waterfall outside his body. This waterfall was hundreds of feet long, twisting and turning in the void. It was like a huge river with raging waves. As soon as Baizun's voice fell, the entire blood-red river rushed out. Wherever it passed, spatial ripples would constantly roll up. Ha! Xie Wusu sneered and mocked. You finally brought out the Blood Sun sect. But I'm afraid that you, Baizun, can't be the master of the Blood Sun sect. As he spoke, Elder Xie crossed his arms in front of him. Endless lightning flashed between his arms and quickly formed a huge ball of lightning. The sound of thunder shook the sky. Behind him, boundless wind and lightning roared as they filled the surroundings and swept through the 9 heavens. At this moment, Xie Wuxu was truly enraged. He wholeheartedly wanted to protect Sui. Just because of this youth's extraordinariness and the fact that he couldn't accept such a young outstanding talent under his wing during the Alliance Conference had already made Xie Wuyu extremely vexed. Now, Baizun wanted to take him away. Everyone knew his intentions, but they didn't expose him for the sake of his reputation as a first-rate force. Who would have thought that Baizun would bring up the Blood Sun sect now? It was obvious that he was trying to force Xie Wuxu into a corner. He didn't want to let go of this opportunity. No matter what, he had to protect Sui today. Well done, Xie Wuxu. Since that's the case, don't blame me for falling out with you. Baizun's face turned cold. He waved his hands, and the blood light in front of him sped up. It turned into a long blood-red dragon, rolling up the wind and clouds as it charged toward Xie Wuxu. Kill! Elder Xie didn't waste any more words. With a cold glint in his eyes, he raised his hand and shot out a ball of lightning. 2 ferocious attacks streaked across the sky, making rumbling sounds. Even the heavens and earth trembled under their might. In an instant, the two collided fiercely. Boom! With a loud bang that shook the heavens, the blood-red light collapsed inch by inch under the pressure of the ball of lightning, exploding into a rain of blood-red light that filled the sky. The ball of lightning also shattered at this moment, but it turned into numerous lightning dragons and snake. They charged forward and continued to devour the remaining blood light. At the same time, Xie Wuxu moved again. His figure flashed as he charged toward Baizun, engaging in close combat with him once again. The two's absolute domains collided, constantly changing their shape. Every time they collided, a loud sound would erupt. This is a true expert. Sui looked up from afar, his heart thumping nonstop. It was his first time witnessing a fight between 2 origin ancestors. This was true strength. Previously, when he fought with Luo Cheng and Lu Yingxing in the Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm, and later, when he used the soul-controlling talisman, he didn't feel it particularly strong. But now, every attack between Xie Wuxu and Baizun could be said to be earth-shattering. Ripples appeared in the space, as if huge rocks were thrown into the water. Waves surged and spread to the surroundings. No one dared to stay nearby, especially the numerous Origin Emperors and Origin Void Realm experts. They all retreated extremely far away. This battle was especially intense. Energy whistled in the sky, shaking the 9 heavens and shaking the 9 underworlds. Everyone focused all their attention on this battle. Xie Wushu and Bai Zun's strength was similar. Overall, Xie Wushu had a slight advantage, but it wasn't easy for him to defeat Bai Zun in a short period of time. At this rate, no one knew how long it would take for the victor to be decided. Everyone raised their heads to look, all of their attention focused on the battlefield. No one noticed that while this fierce battle was going on, an old figure quietly took a detour in the distance and went behind Su Yi. After taking one last look at the battle in the sky, the old figure suddenly flashed, as if he had teleported. In the next moment, he was beside Su Yi. Swoosh, a withered bark-like palm stretched out, placed directly on Su Yi's shoulder and lifted him up. Until then, Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang, who were beside Su Yi, still hadn't reacted. Su Yi's heart trembled. He wanted to shout, but in an instant, he felt that the space had solidified. He felt that the blood in his body had solidified and no longer flowed. His breathing and heartbeat had also stopped. His body was stiff, and he couldn't move an inch. "Brat, come with this old man for a walk." This voice only reached Su Yi's ears. It was as if his entire body was tightly sealed in a rock. He couldn't speak, and his body couldn't move. The power of an absolute domain. It's another origin ancestor expert. At this moment, Su Yi's heart was shaken. The person who had suddenly appeared was behind him, and even his face couldn't be seen. However, Su Yi could instantly determine that this was another origin ancestor expert. The power of the other party's absolute domain tightly restricted everything Su Yi could do, and it made him feel as if he had lost his life. In an instant, Su Yi felt his body rise into the air like a goose feather. "Who is it?" It was only at this moment that Ji Tianfu faintly felt that something was wrong. He couldn't help but roar and turn around to look. Lin Jinyang instantly reacted, and all the hair on his body stood on end. Chapter 12-13. What shocked the two of them the most was that they saw Su Yi being lifted up and swept away like a gust of wind. They wanted to stop him, but the figure had already carried Su Yi away. "Tao Yuanda, what are you trying to do?" Fortunately, there was someone who reacted faster than Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang. After hearing these words, another old man's figure appeared in a flash. Like a bolt of lightning, he closely chased after Ji Tianfu. After a few breaths, he blocked the escape route of the previous person. The person who reacted was Elder Tang Wang from the 9 Stars Valley. "What's going on?" The situation quickly attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked over and saw Su Yi being carried by the shoulder by an old man. He was about to leave, but Elder Tang stopped him in time. "Tao Yuanda, it's him." Some of the people from the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect recognized the old man. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. This move from the 9 Stars Valley is really unexpected. At this moment, the fight between Xie Wushu and Bai Zun stopped. Looking at the person who appeared, Bai Zun took a few deep breaths and said coldly, "Why? Does the 9 Stars Valley want to interfere in this matter today?" Xie Wushu's face turned ugly. He hadn't dealt with the Blood Sun sect yet, and now someone from the 9 Stars Valley appeared. This made him extremely angry. As he spoke, his figure flashed and he rushed over. Bai Zun gritted his teeth and followed after him with a fierce look in his eyes. The rest of the people from the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect followed and surrounded Su Yi and Tao Yuanda. "Tao Yuanda." Elder Tang Wang looked at the old man who was carrying Su Yi and said, "The 9 Stars Valley stealth technique may be able to fool others, but it can't fool me. I've already discovered your tracks. Dong Chongqing, stop hiding and come out." He naturally knew Tao Yuanda because both of them came from the 9 Stars Valley. Surrounded by many people, another voice rang out after Tang Wang's voice faded away. "Elder Tang, the two of us have been ordered by the Valley Master to bring this young man back." With a swoosh, another figure flashed over from afar and quickly arrived at the scene. This was another old man who looked to be in his 70s. His hair and beard were completely white, and he was the one who had spoken just now. Dong Chongqing. As soon as the old man appeared, many people instantly recognized him. He was Dong Chongqing, whom Tang Wang had mentioned. Humph. The Nine Stars Valley is really good at scheming. It turns out that they have been hiding in the dark all this time, wanting to take him away without anyone knowing, Bai Zun said coldly again. His old eyes were filled with coldness. He had been waiting here for a long time in order to bring Su Yi back to the Blood Sun sect. Who would have thought that Xie Wushu would actually obstruct him? Not only that, but he didn't expect the Nine Stars Valley's people to be hiding in the dark. He couldn't help but feel ruthless. Bai Zun would never allow Su Yi to fall into the hands of others. It turns out that you are also from the Nine Stars Valley. After being surrounded, the pressure on Su Yi's body gradually dissipated. He gasped for air with difficulty. At the same time, his heart was clear. It wasn't difficult to determine that the old man and Elder Tang had different objectives. Elder Tang was here to help him, but this person called Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing were here on the orders of the Nine Stars Valley's Valley Master to take him away. Su Yi could see that Elder Tang was unaware of all this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stopped Tao Yuanda. So it's the Nine Stars Valley's Valley Master's idea. After hearing their words, Xie Wushu instantly understood that the Nine Stars Valley was also planning to interfere. However, he didn't continue speaking. He only looked at Elder Tang, wanting to see what he would say. Tao Yuanda, let this young man go. Tang Wang didn't waste any time and only spoke softly. At the same time, a bright light flashed in his eyes as he stared straight at Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing. Elder Tang, this is the Valley Master's order. The two of us can't disobey. At this moment Dong Chongqing spoke again. Elder Tang, please don't worry. The Valley Master has said that he won't hurt this young man. The Valley Master only wants to talk to this young man face to face and see if he's willing to serve the Nine Stars Valley. Even if he's unwilling, we won't do anything to harm him for his wealth. When these words were spoken, the corners of everyone's lips twitched at the same time. Only a fool would believe such an excuse. What a high-sounding reason. The Nine Stars Valley's way of doing things is still as shameless as ever. Bai Zun laughed coldly. Since he had already torn off his hypocritical face, he no longer had any scruples and spoke sarcastically. Su Yi only felt that the truly shameless one was this old fox. Tao Yuanda, let him go. Tang Wang frowned and spoke again. However, when they heard this, Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing's expressions turned slightly awkward. They were here on the Valley Master's orders. Although they didn't want to hurt Su Yi, they couldn't let him go so easily either. However, Elder Tang's position in the valley was higher than theirs. Hence, they were in a difficult position. The Valley Master probably didn't expect this to happen either. Let this young man go. When we return, I'll give the Valley Master a satisfactory explanation. I won't make things difficult for you. Tang Wang spoke again when he saw that the two of them had loosened up. Su Yi, who was in the middle of the crowd, had a strange feeling in his heart. He didn't know how to express it. As a member of the Nine Stars Valley, Elder Tang actually wanted to disobey the Valley Master's orders and ask Tao Yuanda to let him go. This, Tao Yuanda felt awkward and exchanged glances with Dong Chongqing. Both of you, there are so many of us here. You can't escape. Xie Wushu spoke. He glanced indifferently at Bai Zun, who was in the Blood Sun sect's formation, and said coldly, It's not just the Blue Cloud Hall. The people of the Blood Sun sect won't let you take this young man away, so just give up. Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing both frowned deeply. They were in a dilemma. They came stealthily and thought that no one would know when they came. Who would have thought that Elder Tang would discover them and stop them at the first moment. Now that the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect were eyeing them covetously and Elder Tang wouldn't relent, they didn't know what to do. However, there was a fact in front of them. Just as Xie Wushu had said, they probably wouldn't be able to take this young man away today. Once the battle started, even if the two of them could successfully escape, Su Yi's life couldn't be guaranteed. Alright, we'll let him go. Chapter 12-14. Don't worry. If the Valley Master wants to blame us, I will bear all responsibility. Tang Wang took over Su Yi and immediately placed his palm on his back, sending a warm current into his body. In an instant, Su Yi felt much more relaxed. Kid, take this. Xie Wushu took out a small porcelain bottle and poured out a pill from it before placing it in front of Su Yi's mouth. After hesitating for a moment, Su Yi opened his mouth and swallowed it. Instantly, a gentle and pure energy melted in his mouth and flowed down his throat into his internal organs. It flowed into his limbs and bones, nourishing every damaged meridian. Even his great void spirit sea, which had long dried up, began to ripple. In less than a breath's time, Su Yi felt as if a shackle had been lifted from his body. He felt comfortable and his physical strength recovered slightly. What a powerful pill! Su Yi was shocked. The pill's effect was very strong. It could allow someone to recover slightly in such a short time. It was clear that the pill that Elder Xie took out was no ordinary item. With Su Yi's experience, it must have reached the yellow grade. Thank you, elders. Su Yi immediately cupped his fists and bowed deeply towards Xie Wushu and Tang Wang. He was extremely sincere and his heart was filled with gratitude towards the two of them. Take care of your breathing. Leave the rest to me. Elder Xie didn't say much and said with a slight smile. In response to Su Yi's gratitude, Elder Tang only nodded lightly and didn't say anything else. Su Yi nodded. This time, he didn't reject Elder Xie's good intentions. The other party had sincerely come to help him. Although Su Yi wasn't afraid of trouble, he couldn't fight to the death with the people of the Blood Sun sect at this juncture. It wouldn't do him any good. However, he still took a deep look at Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing and secretly remembered the 3 words 9 Stars Valley in his heart. He was extremely unhappy that he was being carried around by Tao Yuanda like a little chick. However, now wasn't the time to act out. In addition, if he wanted to settle accounts in the future, the first person he would look for would definitely be the Blood Sun sect. Bai Zun, this young man is by my side now. If you still want to take him away, then let's fight again. This old man wants to see if you have that ability to snatch people from my Blue Cloud Hall's hands. Xie Wushu's eyes suddenly narrowed as he swept his gaze across the scene. In the end, his gaze landed on Bai Zun and the people from the Blood Sun sect. His gaze seemed to contain lightning and was extremely sharp. Bai Zun pulled a long face when he heard this. He looked around and felt that he wouldn't be able to snatch anyone away this time. Xie Wushu, this old man will remember today's matter. There will be a day when I will get my revenge on your Blue Cloud Hall. Bai Zun's voice sounded like it was squeezed out of his mouth. It was terrifying for no reason, and it was filled with deep resentment and resentment. At present, the situation was no longer on his side. Su Yi stood beside the people of Ash Cloud Hall, with Tang Wang protecting him. In this way, it would be extremely difficult for the Blood Sun sect to take down the young man. Moreover, Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing were also from the 9 Stars Valley. If Tang Wang asked them to take action, it would definitely be disadvantageous for the Blood Sun sect. Humph. My Blue Cloud Hall will teach you when the time comes. Xie Wushu slowly put his arms behind his back as he looked straight at Bai Zun. Let's go. After taking one last look at Xie Wushu and Tang Wang, and throwing a few harsh words, Bai Zun snorted coldly. With a flick of his sleeve, he flew away with the people of the Blood Sun sect and instantly swept into the distance. The people of the Blood Sun sect have left. They left just like that. In the distance, there were many people from other forces and rogue cultivators who saw this scene. They couldn't help but feel shocked. The people of the Blood Sun sect had retreated just like that. Fu, Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang also let out a long sigh of relief. They felt extremely pressured and could finally relax a little at this time. I thank the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang for your help. Seeing that the people of the Blood Sun sect had disappeared, Su Yi once again bowed to Xia Wushu and Tang Wang. It doesn't matter if you thank us or not. Just remember it in your heart and repay us in the future. Xia Wushu said with a smile. Su Yi was stunned when he heard this. He couldn't help but rub his nose. He only felt that this elder Xia was really different. His words were a little too obvious. Elder Tang, this matter is over. The two of us have to return to the 9 Stars Valley and report to the Valley Master. I wonder if Elder Tang will return with us? Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing cupped their hands and asked Tang Wang. You two go ahead first. This old man will rush back to the 9 Stars Valley later. If the Valley Master really wants to blame us, just say that it's my idea. I will explain it to him at that time. Tang Wang nodded and said, Sect Master! Sect Master! At this time, over 10 figures flew over from afar. Each of them was holding a figure in their hand. They quickly landed in front of Su Yi and the others. Green Emperor, Sister Fairy. Su Yi quickly went up to them. These people were from the Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect. They had brought back the injured Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Devouring Spirit Emperor, and the other Beast Emperors. There was also Impermanence Fairy, Yu Qiuhan. Master! Kid! The group of Beast Emperors and Yu Qiuhan were all seriously injured. It was difficult for them to even stand up. They had to be supported by Feng Qizong, Gu Ming, and the others. Fortunately, none of them were in life-threatening danger. The Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, who had the weakest cultivation, were still breathing. Let's return to the Bawang sect immediately to heal our injuries. Su Yi took out many elixirs from his space bag and fed them to everyone. It's okay. We won't die yet. Impermanence Fairy said as she waved her hand weakly. Su Yi's heart felt heavy. After such a tough battle, he was most worried that the group's cultivation foundation would be damaged. The best thing to do now was to bring them into the mysterious space, and make use of the special place there to recover as soon as possible. Elder Xie, Elder Tang, if the two of you don't mind, why don't you come to the Bawang sect for a few days and let me play the role of a host? Su Yi turned to Xie Wushu and Tang Wang again and said, You kid! Xie Wushu rolled his eyes and said, That's fine too. I also want to see what your Bawang sect is like. Elder Tang nodded, indicating that he was willing to go. However, the two of them were old and experienced. They could tell what Su Yi was planning. This kid was probably afraid that the people from the Blood Sun sect would return. That was why he wanted them to go to the Bawang sect. It would be a good protection. There's no time to lose. Let's go. Su Yi was the first to move. With Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang's support, he flew in the direction of the Bawang sect. The Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Impermanence Fairy, and the others followed closely behind, supported by the experts from the two sections. What a vengeful kid! Chapter 12-15. Old man, your 9 Stars Valley might have really made the wrong move this time. Xie Wushu smacked his lips and said to Tang Wang with a smile. As experts of the older generation who had lived for many years, they could naturally see through Su Yi's thoughts. When the youth thanked them earlier, he had mentioned the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang. It could be seen that in his heart, he had already developed a grudge against the 9 Stars Valley and would not have a good impression of them. I hope we didn't misjudge him, Elder Tang said softly. Then, he did not delay any longer and chased after Su Yi and the others. Merciless West, Yama, and that woman just now should be Impermanence Fairy Yuchiohan, right? These two people can be considered quite famous in the Tian barbarian continent. A young man who can make them willingly assist him definitely can't be wrong. Xie Wushu mumbled and followed after him. Soon, the Bawang sect, Blue Cloud Hall, Xianjian sect, Liuha sect, Elder Tang, and the others all disappeared from this mountain range. However, there were still a large number of itinerant cultivators and people from the Xianin sect in the surroundings. They stood still for a long time. The Bawang sect is safe. They defeated the attack of the Jade Tripod sect. 2 Origin Ancestor Realm experts were killed. This Bawang sect is too terrifying. That youth Su Yi is even more terrifying. He actually killed a Origin Ancestor Realm expert. The crowd began to palpitate. Words that carried boundless shock were spoken one after another. Everyone was extremely shocked. The only 2 Origin Ancestor Realm experts of the Jade Tripod sect had come with the intention of revenge, but they had left their lives here. On this day, everyone finally realized the true strength of the Bawang sect. Although it could be seen that this battle was very difficult for them, it was undeniable that they had done it, that youth Su Yi had killed Luoqing. This was something that everyone had witnessed with their own eyes. Even if he was a heavily injured Origin Ancestor Realm expert, he was still a Origin Ancestor Realm expert. The might of the Golden Dragon had yet to dissipate. Just thinking about it made people feel shocked. Bawang sect, in the Big Dipper sect's formation, Hong Qianlung's face was extremely gloomy. He was gritting his teeth so hard that they almost broke. With Ash Cloud Hall and Tang Wang's protection, he was unable to kill Su Yi. This was something that even the people of the Blood Sun sect could not do. On the contrary, their Big Dipper sect had lost a 9th-level Origin Emperor. This was a loss that couldn't be ignored. At the same time, Hong Qianlung was heavily injured, and no one knew how long it would take for him to recover. "Let's go." After a long while, Hong Qianlung waved his arm and led the members of the Big Dipper sect away from the mine. It's getting harder and harder for the Tiangang sect to deal with the Bawang sect. Perhaps it won't be long before the Bawang sect takes the initiative to look for the Heavenly Dipper sect. After all, they are already sworn enemies. It's hard to imagine that such a young boy could grow up so quickly. The Overlord sect, whose name is unknown, has risen to such a level so quickly. The onlookers were all shocked for a long time. Their gazes swept across the original mine. The mountain rocks there had been flattened and turned into dust. Some people went down to investigate curiously and found that the origin stones in the mine had lost all their energy. They had become extremely soft and worthless. This confirmed the previous rumors that the young man had the ability to devour the energy of the mine on a large scale. No one knew what kind of method it was, but it was shocking enough. This is a big deal. The situation in the Chaos region is going to change again. Some sharp people felt that things were not simple. With the speed of development of the Bawang sect, this was definitely going to turn the world upside down. After the Alliance Conference, starting with a few third-rate forces, the 7-Star Sword School, the Gimdeo sect, and then the Heavenly Spider sect, were all destroyed one after another. This time, starting from the Green Sanctuary sect, along with a second-rate force, the Jade Tripod sect, were all overturned by the Bawang sect. The Bawang sect, from today onwards, all forces have to treat it seriously. Someone muttered. Then, all the onlookers and itinerant cultivators dispersed with heavy hearts. The Bawang sect's matter attracted too much attention. There were countless people outside who were blocked by many barbaric beasts and could not enter to take a look. However, when all of this was over, the crowd became more and more magnificent. It was unknown how many warriors had gathered around. As the people who had witnessed the battle with their own eyes walked out, the news of what had happened earlier quickly spread like a storm. The Chaos region was shaken. Everyone who received the news had looks of disbelief on their faces. However, as the news spread more and more fiercely, it was impossible for people not to believe that everything had really happened. The death of 2 Origin Ancestor Realm experts announced the collapse of the Jade Tripod sect. There were really people who made a special trip to the Jade Tripod sect to investigate. They found that all the disciples had fled in panic and scattered like birds and beasts. No one dared to stay in the Jade Tripod sect. All the treasures in the sect were also swept away by some elders. Perhaps all of this is not the end. When someone heard this, they could not help but sigh, causing many people to fall into silence. From now on, the Bawang sect was no longer a nameless force. No one in the entire Chaos region would underestimate them. Chapter 12-16. Su-yi and the others returned to the Bawang sect, which was the original location of the Feng family village. Sect Master, how are you? When they returned, Feng Qi'er, Wang Zhenquan, Huang Jian, Nangong Ningyue, and the others were all waiting anxiously. Seeing Su-yi and the Beast Emperors returning with injuries, everyone rushed to the front, extremely worried. Don't worry, we're all fine. Su-yi revealed a smile and said to the crowd. Su-yi, sir. Feng Qi'er looked around and didn't see Merciless West's figure. Her pretty face couldn't help but become anxious. Big brother is also fine, don't worry, Su-yi said again with a smile. Hearing his words, Feng Qi'er heaved a sigh of relief, knowing that Merciless West should have entered the mysterious space. Behind him, Xie Wushu and Tang Wang looked at each other. Only now did they realize that they didn't seem to see Merciless West and the little bird that transformed into the ancient divine phoenix. The 2 old men only felt that something was wrong, but they couldn't figure out the crux of the matter. It seemed that this young man still had many secrets that they didn't notice at all. Elder Tang, Elder Xie, and all the other seniors, I'll go treat my injuries first. I'll come back later to greet you all. Su-yi turned to look at Xie Wushu and the rest as he said. He was seriously injured, and so were the Green Emperor, Impermanence Fairy, and the others. Everyone must enter the mysterious space as soon as possible to treat their injuries. Okay. You all go treat your injuries. We'll stay here for a few days and take a good look at the Bawang sect scenery. Elder Tang nodded and straightforwardly agreed. Xie Wushu, who was at the side, also nodded. I'm sorry, everyone. Su-yi apologized, and then sternly instructed everyone in the Bawang sect, Huang Jian, Nangong Ningyue, you all must properly entertain the distinguished guests of the Ash Cloud Hall, Elder Tang, and the others. Don't neglect them. Understood. Everyone from the Bawang sect accepted the order. Then, they watched as Su-yi led everyone to the back of the mountain. Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the others also left with the help of the people from the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect. Ji Tianfu and Lin Zhenyang also went to the back of the mountain. Not long after, everyone entered a cave. Other than the people from the Bawang sect, everyone else was arranged to wait outside the cave. Only Ji Tianfu was left behind by Su-yi. In fact, Huang Jian and Wang Zhenquan had also rushed over and stood guard at the cave entrance. What Su-yi truly trusted was his own people. When he was in seclusion, he absolutely could not allow outsiders to intrude. Although Huang Jian and Wang Zhenquan were not very strong, they could not care less at this time. Faction Leader Ji, I think the people from Xianjian faction are trustworthy, right? Inside the cave, Su-yi looked deeply at Ji Tianfu and asked seriously. Ji Tianfu frowned when he heard Su-yi's question. He did not know what Su-yi meant. I trust Faction Leader Ji very much. I treat you as one of my own. That is why I have a secret place that I am not afraid of letting you know. Miss Hanhua is also there. I will bring you in later. Su-yi said, however, I am worried about the people outside. If someone were to barge in recklessly, it could be a matter of life and death. That is why I will not allow this to happen. Seeing how serious Su-yi was, Ji Tianfu's expression became extremely serious. He realized that this matter was much more important than he had imagined. What made him most excited was that his daughter, Ji Hanua, was actually in a secret place in the Bawang sect. Don't worry. Xianjian faction is very strict when it comes to choosing people. Those who are not trustworthy will not be accepted. I have already instructed them not to barge in. Ji Tianfu nodded and said. Su-yi did not waste any more time. He summoned the mysterious space and brought the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Devouring Spirit King, Purple Elephant Emperor, Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, Black Tortoise Emperor, Impermanence Fairy, and Ji Tianfu into it. Swoosh, when a completely different space appeared in front of him, Ji Tianfu was a little stunned. This place was like an independent heaven and earth. It presented a unique scene. The sky hung high and released an invisible pressure that made people feel reverent. The entire space was boundless and no one knew how big it was. The rich spiritual energy seemed to have materialized and entered through the pores of his body, making him feel extremely comfortable. Ji Tianfu was shocked. He did not expect such a place to exist. Looking around, he saw a medicinal field. The spiritual herbs were thriving and the spiritual energy was extremely rich. They were growing much better than the outside world. Kid, is this your secret? Impermanence Fairy was also shocked. She looked at Su-yi and asked. She knew that Su-yi had a huge secret, but she did not expect it to be in such a place. Even though she was mentally prepared, Impermanence Fairy and Yu Chiohan were still shocked to the extreme. Kid, you are here. A huge ginseng came out of the medicinal field and said, Blood Jasper Ginseng. Ji Tianfu and Impermanence Fairy opened their eyes wide. They were shocked to the extreme. A blood jasper ginseng that could speak, needless to say, was definitely in existence in the demon void realm. Its value was immeasurable. Sect leader Ji Hanua is over there. Go and see her. Su-yi pointed in the direction where Ji Hanua was. When he looked over, he was also surprised. The girl was sitting cross-legged on the ground and seemed to be adjusting her breathing. This surprised Su-yi. This little girl is not simple. There is a mysterious force circulating in her body. I originally thought that she wouldn't be able to hold on, but I didn't expect a miracle to happen. The blood jasper ginseng, Su-yi and Ji Tianfu walked to Ji Hanua's side and clicked their tongues in admiration. A mysterious force? Ji Tianfu and Su-yi did not know what kind of mysterious force Ji Hanua had in her body. However, this was not important. As long as she could hold on, Su-yi could finally rest assured. Daughter, however, when he saw Ji Hanua's appearance, Ji Tianfu still revealed an extremely pained expression. Grandpa Ginseng, thank you so much this time. Su-yi cupped his fists at the blood jasper ginseng and bowed. If it were not for the blood jasper ginseng's life essence saving her, Ji Hanua would have died. In addition, when dealing with the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, Grandpa Ginseng had also put in a lot of effort and was heavily injured. This made Su-yi extremely grateful to him. Kid, you don't have to thank me. The blood jasper ginseng shook its head. It actually bared its teeth and said with a smile, Recently, a huge change has occurred in this space. I have obtained great benefits from it. Now, my cultivation has broken through 2 levels. Let's treat what I did previously as an exchange. The spiritual liquid that you promised doesn't matter anymore. You broke through again? Su-yi was extremely surprised. He did not expect Grandpa Ginseng to break through again. It seemed that devouring the energy of the essence stones in the mine brought great benefits. Chapter 12:17. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. Su-yi was overjoyed, and he became excited all of a sudden. He saw that the small pool of spiritual liquid was full. It was filled with spiritual liquid, and it overflowed from the mouth of the pool, soaking a large area around it. With so much spiritual liquid, it would be able to support the consumption for a long time. Without thinking, Sui took out a small bottle and began to fill it. When all the spiritual liquid was filled, he gave the Green Emperor, Yin Ming, Yang Ming, Devouring Spirit Emperor, and the others some spiritual liquid, and asked them to find a place to heal their wounds. The rich Sui gave each of them 2 bottles in one go. "I didn't know you had so much of this." Wuchang Fairy was shocked. She held the spiritual liquid in her hand and looked at Sui, not knowing what to say. Sui gave her the spiritual liquid, and she thought that it was extremely rare. She did not expect to see a pool of it just now. "Sister Wuchang, no matter how much of this there is, it can't support the consumption of so many people." Sui spread his hands and said with a wry smile. In fact, the consumption of the spiritual liquid was very fast. As everyone's strength increased, and the Bawang sect continued to expand, they had more and more people, and the spiritual liquid was a little stretched. If it was really inexhaustible, then it would be true generosity. "That's true." Wuchang Fairy nodded and then walked away, looking for a place to heal her wounds in the huge mysterious space. Before that, she caught a glimpse of a figure in the distance. It was Merciless West. Big Brother and Old Lei Sui also saw the situation in the distance. Merciless West and Lei Yunho were not too far away, and they were wholeheartedly healing their wounds and cultivating. Their bodies were fluctuating with extremely powerful power, and a misty light enveloped the 2 of them, making them look like gods. For no reason, there seemed to be an indescribable mysterious charm circling around their bodies. "They can't be about to break through, right?" Sui's eyes widened. He felt that this situation wasn't as simple as it seemed. When they were devouring the energy of the mine, Big Brother and Lei Yunho were both in the mysterious space. Perhaps they had also obtained great benefits like the blood jasper ginseng. However, this was a good thing. Sui was naturally happy to see this happen. "Where is Little Handsome?" After searching for a while, Sui finally saw Handsome Su after flying for a long time. Contrary to what she had imagined, Handsome Su's condition was not particularly good. His feathers still did not have much luster, and his spiritual power was not strong either. This made Sui worried. He didn't know what kind of price Handsome Su had to pay for his last attack. However, it was conceivable that he must have been severely injured. Fortunately, Sui knew that the mysterious space was extremely beneficial to the Yao race. He should be able to make a full recovery here. Sect Master Ji, just let Han No recuperate here in peace. I also need time to recover. I'll have to trouble you to take care of the matters outside. Sui saw that the Green Emperor and the others had all gone to recuperate, so he walked in front of Ji Tianfu and said, "Okay." Ji Tianfu looked at his daughter with heartache. Then, he suddenly bowed to Sui with his hands clasped in front of him. "Sect Master Ji, what are you doing?" Sui hurriedly supported him, and at the same time dodged the bow. "If it weren't for you, my daughter would have been in trouble. Ji Tianfu will always remember this kindness. If you and the Bawang sect have any orders, the Xianjian sect will not refuse." Looking at Sui, Ji Tianfu's every word was sonorous and powerful. "Sect Master Ji, you're too serious. Not to mention, the Xianjian sect has helped me a lot. Just based on the friendship between Miss Han Noa and me, even if we aren't allies, I won't sit back and watch her be harmed," Sui said. Ji Tianfu nodded heavily when he heard this. He looked at Ji Hanua meaningfully again. He only felt that the feelings in his daughter's heart were fortunately backed by someone. In fact, Sui himself could not explain why he was so angry after hearing that Ji Hanua had been captured. At that time, he only wanted to lead many beast emperors and directly flatten the Green Sanctuary sect. He wanted to kill all the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect's Origin Emperor realm experts and make them pay the price for their actions. Perhaps all of this was just to vent his anger for what Ji Hanua had suffered, or perhaps it had unknowingly touched Su Yi's heartstrings, causing him to instantly go berserk. You should recuperate well. Leave the matters outside to me. If there are any changes, I will come here to inform you immediately. Ji Tianfu said one last time and walked out of the mysterious space under Su Yi's lead. Before leaving, Su Yi handed him 2 bottles of spirit liquid, one of which was requested to be handed over to Lin Jinyang. This time, although the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect did not contribute much, the 2 sects were not afraid of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. The alliance that they swore to help made Su Yi very touched. It was true that he was usually meticulous, but at the critical moment, Su Yi also knew that he could not be too stingy when it was time to make a move. Start healing. After re-entering the mysterious space, Su Yi found a place to sit cross-legged and began to heal his injuries. Nangong Ningyue was in charge of the matters in the sect, so there would not be any major problems. In addition, several people from the Blue Cloud Hall were temporarily staying in the Bawang sect. Elder Tang Wang was also there. With several Origin Ancestor Realm experts overseeing the sect, there were definitely not many people in the entire Chaos region who dared to cause trouble here. Even if the Blood Sun sect wanted to make a move, they had to consider the consequences. Su Yi had asked Elder Xie and the others to come to the Bawang sect for this purpose. He wanted to prevent any accidents from happening when all the high-end experts of the Bawang sect were in seclusion. Now, he was much more relieved. However, at the same time, Su Yi was also a little worried. He was afraid that Elder Xie and the others would inadvertently barge into the cave. The secret of the mysterious space must not be known by outsiders. Otherwise, once it was spread, Su Yi would never have a day of peace. Fortunately, Elder Xie and Elder Tang both had the intention to rope him in. Under such circumstances, the other party should not do anything excessive. In addition, Ji Tianfu was waiting outside, so he was even more confident. Walala, Su Yi drank a bottle of spirit liquid. Then, the primordial chaos supreme technique and the heavenly demon ancient scripture in his body circulated at the same time. The light of the 4 attributes of earth, fire, water, and wind spread out around his body and wrapped around his body. However, these 4 elemental powers were not strong because Su Yi was severely injured. From the beginning, he had used the soul manipulation killing talisman to fight the 2 origin ancestor realms. Then, he had devoured the energy of the mine and forced Hong Qianlong to retreat. Then, he had used the world-suppressing dragon soul roar to kill Luoqing and a 9th-level origin emperor. Su Yi's meridians had suffered unimaginable damage. If not for the diamond body that had been baptized by the golden dragon blood essence and the heavenly origin demon soul that had been tempered by the golden dragon soul, an ordinary person would have died on the spot. Chapter 12-18. Su Yi's heart was clear, and the world seemed to have calmed down. All that was left in his mind was cultivation. As time passed, the primordial qi on his body became more and more resplendent. The power of the 4 attributes began to surge, forming a cocoon of light that completely enveloped him. Within the mysterious space, there were numerous figures scattered about in various other places. All of them were in a state of cultivation. Outside the mysterious space, Ji Tianfu and Lin Jinyang led the Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect's origin emperor realm experts to wait silently. In addition, Huang Jian and Wang Zhenquan were also there. Xie Wushu, Tang Wang, and the others temporarily stayed in the Bawang sect. However, not long after, their hearts palpitated again because the 2 of them saw several origin emperor realm experts in the Bawang sect. It's the people from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect and the Heavenly Spider sect. I didn't expect them to follow that brat Su Yi. After receiving confirmation, Tang Wang shook his head and smiled bitterly. If it weren't for the fact that most of these people came from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, they would have attacked Luo Qing and Lu Yinghong together earlier. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect is gone just like that? At the same time, these Origin Emperor Realm experts who had submitted to the Bawang sect were all shocked when they found out that the two ancestors of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect had died and that the entire Jade Tripod Alchemy sect had scattered like birds and beasts. Such an outcome was hard to imagine, but they had no choice but to accept it. Fortunately, they were now members of the Bawang sect. Although they could not obtain the greatest trust, their lives were saved. Old man, do the math. The number of Emperor Realm experts in the Bawang sect shouldn't be less than that of ordinary second-rate forces, right? Xie Wuxiu and Tang Wang both raised their fingers and started counting according to the situation they had seen. They were surprised to find that the Bawang sect now had about 17 or 18 Emperor Realm experts. This number was growing too quickly. One had to know that a few months ago, when they faced the 7-star sword school, they could only run for their lives. I wonder what kind of means that kid has to be able to subdue so many beast emperors. Tang Wang fell into deep thought. They had long discovered that Su Yi had such an ability, but they never thought that the youth would be able to subdue so many beast emperors. They had no idea how he did it. With such means, it would be strange if the Bawang sect didn't develop quickly. Xie Wuxiu shrugged his shoulders and said, in fact, many people in the Chaos region knew that the Bawang sect's strongest force wasn't the few thousand disciples under the sect, but the endless army of savage beasts. Once a massive beast tide was set off, apart from the first-rate and second-rate forces, no other sect in the Chaos realm would be able to stop it. It was no wonder that the Bawang sect was located in the territory of the brute demon beast. This had saved them a lot of trouble. That brat, I wonder how long it will take for him to recover. A few days later, Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others felt a little helpless. After Su Yi and the others went into seclusion, not a single one of them showed up. Fortunately, Nangong Ningyue had arranged for people to give them the best treatment, so these experts didn't have too many complaints. The days passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, nearly half a month had passed. That brat still hasn't come out of seclusion. Elder Xie and the others were impatient. Su Yi hadn't appeared for half a month. One had to know that they were all well-known figures in the Chaos region. That youth didn't even come out to greet them while he was recuperating. This made them feel very helpless. They felt that they couldn't wait any longer. If it weren't for the fact that they wanted to ask Su Yi some questions, Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others would probably flick their sleeves and return to the sect. Let's wait a little longer. In the end, they could only shake their heads and smile bitterly. They had long seen through Su Yi's thoughts. He wanted to borrow their strength, so that the people of the Blood Sun sect wouldn't dare to invade them while they were recuperating. However, whether it was Elder Xie or Elder Tang, they all had different thoughts. Otherwise, why would they be willing to stay here? Some things were wrong in the past, but they hoped that they could make up for it now. Xinjian Gate, the news of the Chaos region had finally reached here. Ha ha! What a good Su Yi! That brat actually caused such a big commotion in the Chaos region. In the main hall, Situ Luyun sat on the seat of honor. He raised his head and laughed with incomparable carefreeness. Below him, the elders of the various peaks were also seated. Most of them had gratified smiles on their faces. That's really good. He gave face to our Xinjian Gate. Elder Ing Dang of the 35th Sword Peak stroked his beard with a happy face. With that brat's personality, he's like a fish in water in the Chaos region. If he were still in our Xinjian Gate, he would definitely be restrained. The Chaos region is a place where people like Su Yi can live. Over there, he can use his fists and kicks to his heart's content without any worries. The wide sea allows the fish to leap, and the high sky allows the birds to fly. Su Yi is indeed suitable to grow in the Chaos region. Mei Huaye Yu Chongqing, Lu Bai Mei Duan Yuerong, and the other elders of the Sword Peak all spoke with gratification. They all knew Su Yi's personality. That young man was not only shrewd, but also extraordinary. He was completely unlike a normal teenager. In the past, Su Yi was sometimes overbearing, sometimes arrogant, sometimes cold, sometimes sincere, and sometimes calculating. Fortunately, he still had a lot of affection for the Xinjiang Gate. After all, there were many of his friends here. In the main hall, the Suruga elder sat quietly and did not speak. However, everyone could see that the corners of his mouth, which was always serious, were hooked into a smile that was difficult to melt. His eyes were shining brightly. Su Yi was a member of the 36th Sword Peak. Even if he and Elder Su were not master and disciple in name, there was still a master-disciple relationship and even a familial relationship. That young man had left the central province for less than a year, but he had already grown to such a level. The Bawang sect, which was fabricated in the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly, had also risen rapidly. All of this made the Suruga elder feel pleasantly surprised and proud at the same time. "Father!" Just as everyone in the main hall was sighing, a tender voice was heard, and then a young man broke into the main hall. "Mu Yang, you've come out of seclusion?" Seeing the young man, Situ Luyun immediately asked. The rest of the people also cast their eyes on him. "Greetings, father." "Greetings, elders." After a slight salute to the elders in the main hall, Situ Muyang could not help but say, "Yes, father." "You've broken through to the Origin Void stage?" As Situ Muyang's voice fell, Elder Lu Baimei suddenly exclaimed. Chapter 12-19. The Origin Void Realm. It's really the Origin Void Realm. A 16-year-old in the Origin Void Realm. That's too scary. What a terrifying talent. Is our Xinjiang Gate going to defy the heavens? When they saw Situ Muyang's true cultivation, everyone was shocked. In the main hall, the elders widened their eyes in disbelief. Situ Muyang was the son of the Gate Master, Situ Luyun. His talent was already extraordinary, but no one expected it to be so extraordinary. A 16-year-old in the Origin Void Realm, what kind of concept was that? If word got out, it could scare people to death. Normally, the son of Lianxing Mountain had just stepped into the Origin Void Realm at this age. Good. Very good. Situ Luyun stood up from his seat and walked towards Situ Muyang step by step. His face was full of joy. "Muyang, you really surprised me." Situ Luyun couldn't suppress the smile on his face. He looked at his son with joy in his eyes. Such talent is even more powerful than Yunling Feng. With such an outstanding junior, Situ Muyang will revitalize our Xinjiang Gate. Good boy, Xinjiang Gate will definitely improve 100 years later. All the elders were extremely excited, and said aloud one after another. A boy who was less than 17 years old had broken through to the Origin Void Realm. From a certain point of view, this was enough to show Situ Muyang's talent. As long as he was carefully cultivated and no mistakes were made, Xinjiang Gate would definitely have another terrifying powerhouse within 100 years. He could even lead the entire gate to glory. Therefore, at this moment, everyone was pleasantly surprised and excited, including the Suruga elder who was sitting in front of the crowd. He couldn't help nodding, and his eyes became brighter. Only one person in the hall looked a little gloomy. This person was Elder Bai Mingshan of the 15th Sword Peak, Yun Lingfeng's master. But at this moment no one noticed his expression. "Father, elders, my talent is nothing compared to junior martial granduncles. I've heard about what happened in the Chaos region after I came out of seclusion." Situ Muyang wasn't as arrogant as before. Instead, he said with an extremely serious expression. As soon as he said this, the main hall instantly fell silent. No one refuted him. Su Yi's current achievements were obvious to all. Relatively speaking, he was indeed far ahead of Situ Muyang. Rumor had it that he was already at the 6th level of the Origin Void Realm. Looking at it this way, Situ Muyang's talent seemed to be somewhat ordinary. Su-yi is a freak. If we were to compare ourselves to him, we wouldn't be able to live, Elder Ing Dang said with a bitter smile. Everyone in the hall nodded in agreement. Su-yi was too extraordinary. It was almost impossible to find a youth like him in this world. He was definitely a rare talent that only appeared once in 1,000 years. If he was taken as the benchmark, then all the martial artists in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean would feel ashamed of their inferiority. Situ Muyang didn't say anything when he heard the words of everyone, and he only raised his head to look at his father, and said in a low voice, "Father, I want to go to the Chaos region." "What?" Situ Luyun was shocked and hurriedly asked. "Why do you want to go to the Chaos region?" The other elders looked at the young man in the hall with surprise, and they carried bewilderment in their hearts. During the sacred martial meet, youngest Uncle Master and the others went against the sacred mountain and risked their lives to escape. At that time, my strength was far from sufficient and was unable to help him at all. But since then, I've started to cultivate diligently for the sake of becoming strong one day and being able to do everything I want to do. So long as it's someone I care about, then I can't allow them to be bullied. Situ Muyang looked at Situ Luyun with a burning gaze as he spoke in a powerful and resonant voice. Hearing such words, many people present couldn't help but clench their fists and grit their teeth. Yes, Su-yi was forced by the sacred mountain, and this was the pain of everyone in the Xinjiang Gate. If they were strong enough, they wouldn't fear the sacred mountain and would provide the strongest protection for Su-yi, and that young man wouldn't have to suffer so much. If the Xinjiang Gate was strong enough and could resist all enemies and uphold the righteous path, then when Su-yi was ambushed and almost died, they could have directly killed Yun Lingfeng instead of just punishing him to face the wall for 3 years. As long as they had enough strength, they could easily do all of this, whether it was external or internal. But unfortunately, the Xinjiang Gate wasn't strong enough to do that. So, at that time, many people could only watch as Su-yi fought with the sacred mountain and watched as that young man took the initiative to withdraw from the Xinjiang Gate, and none of them could do anything. But today, in everyone's hearts, that young man was still a disciple of the Xinjiang Gate. "Father, so I want to go to the Chaos region, and I want to fight side by side with Junior Marshal Uncle and the others." Situ Muyang's eyes flashed as he said each word sonorously. Everyone in the hall was infected by his state, and hot blood flowed continuously in their bodies. If they were a few decades younger, or even a few hundred years younger, they would be willing to be like Situ Muyang and be so excited. Muyang! Situ Luyun's eyes flashed with gratification. Situ Muyang had been cultivating in seclusion for almost a year, and the results were remarkable. Moreover, Situ Luyun could clearly feel that his son had really grown up. Because of everything that Su-yi had suffered back then, it made him firm in his beliefs, and he was countless times more hard-working than before. At this moment, Situ Luyun suddenly felt a little sad, but this sadness only lasted for a moment. "Good. You are indeed my son, Situ Luyun. You have courage and courage. I agree to this." Situ Luyun suddenly laughed out loud as he spoke. "Thank you, father, for agreeing." Situ Muyang also laughed happily, but he suddenly changed the topic and said with a smile, "But father, I'll leave it to you to talk to mother. I'll leave first." After saying that, Situ Muyang jumped up as if his butt had been cut by a knife, and then he ran out of the hall and quickly disappeared. Everyone was stunned by this scene. "I have to take the blame for this again." Situ Luyun felt helpless in his heart. When he thought of Situ Muyang's mother and the people behind her, Situ Luyun felt extremely helpless. This time, he had promised his son to go to the Chaos region, and he would definitely have to take the blame for this again. Situ Luyun immediately became distressed, and he didn't know how to explain it to those people. Seeing him like this, the few elders who knew about the situation all revealed malicious smiles. Each and every one of them snickered slyly. The matter is finished, disperse. Everyone disperse. Situ Luyun saw everything, and he immediately glanced at those people who were secretly laughing, and shouted coldly. Chapter 12:20. He. Situ Luyun's expression made the few people who knew about it laugh even more happily. However, the matter this time had already been discussed. The situation with Su Yi and Situ Muyang was just an interlude, so the elders of the various peaks all dispersed. When he walked out of the hall and flew into the air, Elder Su suddenly grinned and could not help but want to laugh when he saw that there was no one around. Everyone dispersed, but there was still one person walking at the back of the hall. It was Bai Mingshan of the 15th Sword Peak. Su Yi. Situ Muyang. Bai Mingshan could no longer control his expression, and a cold expression appeared on his face. He looked in the direction of the entrance of the hall and slowly clenched his fist. No one knew what he was thinking. A moment later, Bai Mingshan's figure flashed and quickly disappeared. In the middle of Xinjian Gate, there was a desolate place where a towering cliff stood. It was like a natural barrier between heaven and earth, giving off a strange and majestic feeling. Standing alone in front of this precipice, he looked no different from an ant. This precipice was covered with green moss, but there were no messy plants growing on it. It was a flat expanse, and it was extremely shocking to look at from afar. At this time, a handsome young man was sitting under the cliff. His eyes were closed as he sat cross-legged and cultivated. On the young man's knees was a long sword. A red light flowed on it, as if an evil dragon was swimming around, containing an evil aura. Swoosh! Suddenly, a figure landed in front of the young man from afar. It was Elder Bai Mingshan. "Master, you're here." The young man sitting cross-legged on the ground did not even lift his eyelids as he spoke indifferently. "Ling Feng, there are some things that I think I should tell you." Bai Mingshan's expression was still a little ugly, but in front of his disciple, he tried his best to restrain himself. "Speak." Yun Lingfeng's lips moved slightly, and he actually only said one word softly, without any respect for his teacher. Bai Mingshan did not care about this at all. He exhaled and said, "You've been facing the wall for almost a year, and I rarely tell you about the outside world. But today I must tell you a few things." Yun Lingfeng didn't answer. His eyes were still closed, unmoved. Bai Mingshan glanced at his disciple and continued, "Today, Situ Muyang emerged from his closed-door cultivation. He has broken through to the origin void realm." Hearing this, Yun Lingfeng finally opened his eyes in surprise. However, he didn't particularly care and said, "It's only the origin void stage. If I want to reach it, I can break through in a few days." "Really?" Bai Mingshan was stunned. This news was a pleasant surprise for him. Origin void stage and Yuan Zhen stage were two completely different concepts. If one could break through to Yuan Zhen stage earlier, one would have a certain advantage. If one didn't work hard to catch up with a small group of extremely talented people, then one step behind would lead to another step behind. Fortunately, Yun Lingfeng's words dispelled some of Bai Mingshan's doubts. You have the Crimson Dragon Divine Step. Once you break into the origin void realm, that Situ Muyang will definitely not be your match. Bai Mingshan said excitedly. "Humph. It's just a tiny little Situ Muyang. He's not even worth a pound." Yun Lingfeng said. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes again and didn't care at all. However, after Bai Mingshan's excitement, he pulled a long face and said, "Besides Situ Muyang, you probably want to know more about Su Yi." The corners of Yun Lingfeng's eyes twitched, but he didn't open his eyes in the end. However, it couldn't conceal the throbbing in his heart. He sat there quietly and waited for Bai Mingshan to continue speaking. Su-yi is in the chaos region. It's said that he has already stepped foot into the 6th level of the origin void stage. Bai Mingshan said. What? Yunling Feng could no longer maintain his composure. His eyes suddenly opened. 2 crimson rays of light shot out from his eyes like lightning and set off waves of wind and thunder. At the same time, a strand of absolutely evil devil energy surged. It was bloody, brutal, and murderous. Bai Mingshan accidentally met Yunling Feng's eyes, and he instantly shuddered unconsciously. With his cultivation, he actually felt astounded. Fortunately, this feeling didn't affect him at all, and it instantly dispersed. The light in Yunling Feng's eyes was restrained as well. That kid hasn't just attained the 6th level of the origin void stage. He even established a power called the Bawang sect. This Bawang sect can be said to be like the sun in the midday sky in the chaos region. Many third-rate powers were annihilated by it, and there was even a second-rate power that vanished from the world because of the Bawang sect. Moreover, 2 origin ancestor stage powerhouses from this second-rate power perished as well. Bai Mingshan continued. As he spoke, he couldn't help but feel shocked in his heart. After he finished listening, Yunling Feng was even more astounded. Even though the third-rate and second-rate powers in the Chaos region couldn't compare to the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea, it didn't mean that they were weak. How terrifying was the Bawang sect to be able to annihilate numerous third-rate powers and eliminate a second-rate power in one go. It wasn't easy to determine anything else, but the death of 2 origin ancestor stage powerhouses was already sufficient to explain the problem. What a Su-yi! He actually came to such an extent. Yunling Feng's gaze shot out piercingly cold as he spoke with a grim voice. Only a short period of time had passed, yet Su-yi had actually attained the 6th level of the origin void stage. This was too terrifying. Besides that, he'd established a powerful Bawang sect, and this was even more terrifying. This meant that if he wanted to deal with Su-yi in the future, he had to take the sect behind him into consideration. If I knew this would happen, I should have been more straightforward and directly annihilated his body and soul. Yunling Xin gritted his teeth as he spoke. At this moment, he felt slightly regretful. At that time, he'd never imagined that Su-yi would actually be able to come back from the dead. Otherwise, how could all of this have happened? At this moment, Yunling Feng felt intense hatred towards Su-yi. It was all because of Su-yi that he had to face the wall for 3 years. There are still 2 years of time left. You have a saint weapon in your possession, so you might not necessarily lose to Su-yi. You still have a great chance of winning. The nearby Bai Mingshan waved his fist and cheered for his disciple. However, the response he received was only Yunling Feng's 3 cold words. I know. You can leave. I'm going into closed-door cultivation. Yunling Feng continued. Bai Mingshan thought for a moment and was originally about to say something, but he didn't speak in the end, and he turned around and flew away. After his figure vanished, Yunling Feng's eyes slowly opened, and crimson-red clouds flowed out from his eyes and densely spread out in the sky like mist. After a short moment, the crimson-red mist directly coiled around his body, and it looked like a mist of blood was coiling around him. At the same time, a bloody and fiendish aura was emitted, and Yunling Feng's eyes had completely turned crimson-red. Kik. Chapter 12:21. With this laughter, the sword across Yunling Feng's knees began to tremble. At the same time, a massive amount of blood-red demonic energy surged out. I have the divine red dragon movement. I have the demonic sword path. Su-yi, no matter how strong your cultivation is, you will still die in my hands. Yunling Feng opened his mouth and let out a strange laugh. 2 rays of light, red and black, rushed out from his body and fluctuated violently. In an instant, his aura began to rise rapidly and soon reached a peak. It's just the origin void stage. I can easily break through it, Yun Lingfeng said, and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. At the same time, it was filled with endless madness. The demonic sword path. The day I become a demon will be the day I devour the world. Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. At that time, the entire Xinjiang Gate will be mine. Kiki. What happened in the Chaos region quickly spread throughout the 6 continents, 3 prefectures, and 1 ocean. As the strongest force in the central continent, the Sacred Mountain received the news at about the same time as the Xinjiang Gate. The verdant mountain ranges overlapped one another like the waves of the ocean, surging and surging, majestic and magnificent. Mist rose from the ink-blue mountain peak, and the tip of the green mountain peak was like an ink landscape painting. On the mountain peak, a graceful figure in a fiery red robe stood. She was about 15 or 16 years old, and her skin was whiter than snow. She was incomparably beautiful and beautiful. That bastard, he. At this moment, the young girl was standing there, and her face was filled with shock. Behind her was an older girl, whose appearance was only slightly inferior to the former, and her face was also filled with shock. If Su Yi was here, he would definitely recognize these 2 beautiful girls. They were the sisters Lu Ruoxi and Lu Yani, who were also from the barbarian city. The 2 of them were now cultivating in the Sacred Mountain, and Lu Ruoxi was the Sacred Mountain's saintess. I really didn't expect that guy to be able to reach this step after surviving the disaster. I can't believe this is real. Lu Yani swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said with difficulty. He must have eaten a lot along the way. Lu Ruoxi frowned and said slowly. And you lied to me that you weren't worried about him. Seeing this, Lu Yani blinked her eyes and said. Lu Ruoxi merely smiled and did not respond. However, the worry between her brows was difficult to dispel. Right. Suddenly, Lu Yani thought of something. Her red lips parted slightly as she said, When I was on my way here, I saw Guardian Wang Chuanda. What's wrong with him? Lu Ruoxi raised her brows and asked. He seems to have been called by the elders again. Lu Yani said. Lu Ruoxi replied with an "oh" and did not say anything else. You can go back first. There are some things that I need to discuss with Master and the others. Lu Ruoxi spoke after a short moment. All right. Lu Yani did not stay any longer and turned to leave. Lu Ruoxi stayed in the same spot for a long time. Then, her body flitted away like a butterfly. She was graceful and beautiful, and soon disappeared among the mountain ranges. On this day, the entire Sacred Mountain was restless because of the incident in the Chaos region. Many higher-ups of the Sacred Mountain were alarmed again because the news was too shocking. However, no one knew what these higher-ups were thinking. Just like Lu Yani, many people saw Protector Wang Chuanda being called over by those true powerhouses. After a short while, he reappeared in front of everyone. However, just like last time, Guardian Wang Chuanda's face was swollen like a pig's head. There were bright red palm prints all over his face. His left leg was broken, and he was limping. He looked miserable. In the mysterious space behind the Bawang Sek's mountain. Time passed quickly. It had been more than half a month since Su Yi and the others returned to the sect. In this half a month, the powerhouses of the Bawang sect had been cultivating and recuperating in the mysterious space. Huff, 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 waves after waves of huge energy fluctuations swept across the area. Some people even set off huge waves of energy that were as terrifying as a storm. Fortunately, the mysterious space was vast enough now. Therefore, everyone was far away from each other and did not disturb or affect each other. Qi among the crowd, Wuchang Fairy was the first to open her eyes. A cold aura flowed out of her body and froze the space around her. I've almost recovered. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she sensed the state of her body, revealing a satisfied expression. The spiritual liquid that kid gave me is really good stuff. It actually improved my cultivation." Wuchang Fairy's eyes sparkled as she murmured. She was originally at the peak of the 9th level Origin Emperor realm. After more than half a month of seclusion, she had improved again. In this way, she was only one step away from the real Origin Ancestor realm. However, Wuchang Fairy knew that this last step was not easy to break through. Not only did it require sufficient spiritual energy, but it also required the comprehension of some special things. Countless geniuses were stuck at this final step, unable to step into that brand new world for the rest of their lives. "I don't know how long I have to wait for this opportunity." Wuchang Fairy's beautiful eyes sparkled as she murmured softly. Her gaze moved and she sighed. However, a moment later, Impermanence Fairy's expression suddenly froze and she let out a cry of surprise. "Those Beast Emperors are about to break through?" She looked in the direction of the 3 Beast Emperors, the Mystic Turtle Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Dragon Rhino Emperor. At this moment, the 3 Beast Emperors were completely wrapped in light. Their figures could not be seen clearly. Surging energy enveloped them as light bloomed and released a terrifying movement. Above their heads, endless wind and thunder gathered and fell from the mysterious space. It was as if 3 huge thunderbolts were connecting them to the sky of the space. Accompanied by the wind and thunder in the sky and the endless energy raging, the scene was terrifying. Wuchang Fairy knew that the Mystic Turtle Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Dragon Rhino Emperor were about to break through. This surprised her. According to her understanding, the 3 Beast Emperors had just broken through not too long ago. Why were they breaking through now? An earth-shattering roar came from where the 3 Beast Emperors were. What followed was the appearance of 3 giant beasts. They circled above the Emperor of Purple Elephant and his companions and exuded a vast amount of royal energy. They were majestic and intimidating. Boom! At the same time, bolts of lightning struck down from the sky and struck the 3 beast shadows. Chapter 12:22. In an instant, Impermanence Fairy could only see waves of mysterious energy flowing in the sky of this space. Finally, it was injected into the 3 Beast Emperors. The aura of the 3 of them became more and more intense, causing earth-shattering roars. Impermanence Fairy's eyes were burning. She also wanted to see how far the 3 Beast Emperors would break through this time. Suddenly, not only was there a huge commotion from the Purple Elephant Emperor and the other 2, but also from the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the Devouring Spirit Emperor. Huge waves of energy surged in all directions, attracting Impermanence Fairy's attention. For no reason, a terrifying dragon roar could be faintly heard. Golden light filled the sky and shot through the sky. The 4 Beast Emperors were also quickly enveloped by the endless light. There were invisible veins entangling them, connecting them to the mysterious space. All of this was just the beginning. After the Beast Emperors showed signs of breaking through one after another, huge commotion occurred in other parts of the mysterious space. First, it was Merciless West and Lei Yunhe. Vast soul power flowed around them. It was extremely terrifying and made one's heart palpitate. The aura of the Origin Emperor realm fluctuated, causing the 2 of them to have an aura that could suppress heaven and earth. Especially Merciless West, her soul power was like flowing water, surging and setting off terrifying waves. Swoosh! Soon, another commotion came from another place. There, a small gray bird was slowly floating in the air, emitting a 5-colored light. The 5-colored light shone on the bird, making it look like a small 5-colored sun that was slowly rising. And from the bird's body, an extremely powerful aura was emitted. It was as if a supreme being from ancient times had descended, suppressing everything. Handsome Su had been severely injured previously. Now, he finally caused a huge commotion, and a vast aura surged again. At the same time, strands of strange light appeared in the mysterious space. They carried a strange power and entered Handsome Sue's body. Chi-Chi, not long after the commotion at Handsome Sue's place, Sue-E, who was quietly sitting cross-legged on the ground, also underwent a huge change. Wind and thunder rolled around the young man's body for no reason. The four elemental powers of earth, fire, water, and wind intertwined and entangled with each other. A huge light cocoon wrapped around him. Compared to the Beast Emperors, Merciless West, Lei Yunhe, and the others, the commotion around Sue-E was not particularly huge. It could only be considered average. However, Impermanence Fairy raised her eyebrows when she saw this. She knew that Sue-E was also about to break through. Rumble, in the mysterious space, muffled thunder rumbled and the void shook. In many places, everyone was showing signs of breaking through. This left everyone horrified. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng also came out of the medicine field and stood in the same place as Impermanence Fairy, watching the whole process in shock. Chi-Chi-Chi, for a moment, strange phenomena appeared in the mysterious space. Wind, thunder, and various elemental energies shot out in all directions, penetrating and invading each other. Thunder was roaring, the earth was roaring, the sky was trembling, space was shaking, astral winds were howling, and energy was howling. A major change was taking place in the mysterious space. However, the people in the outside world were completely unaware of what was happening here. Ji Tianfu, Lin Jinyang, Wang Zhenquan, Huang Jian, and many experts from Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect were all waiting outside the cave quietly. No one had left during this period. As for Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others from the Blue Cloud Hall, they had not come to this place for over 20 days. On this day, a martial artist from Green Cloud Hall came from the outside world and brought important news to Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others. What? A secret place has appeared? After hearing the report, Elder Xie and the other experts from Green Cloud Hall were all shocked. They looked at the middle-aged Origin Emperor who brought the news in disbelief. Elders, the secret place has appeared in the northwest of the Chaos Zone. Someone has really explored it before. However, this secret place has just appeared, and it seems to be in another space. It is somewhat difficult to grasp. Now, there are experts from the hall rushing over. The hall master sent me here to inform Elder Xie and the others. The middle-aged man looked at Elder Xie and the others from Green Cloud Hall and said softly, "Such a secret place suddenly appeared? I wonder where it came from." Elder Xie murmured as his eyes shone brightly. Every secret place buried a period of time or a prodigy who had disappeared. Inside, there would be unpredictable benefits that could make many martial artists go crazy. However, the benefits came at the same time. Ordinary secret places were also extremely dangerous. It was a kind of test for those who entered. Many experts from the hall have already gone ahead to investigate. In addition, 9-Star Valley and Blood Sun sect have also received the news and sent people to investigate. As of now, there is no more specific information. We don't know what kind of place it is. Everything still needs to be verified. The Origin Emperor expert who came to deliver the news spoke again. Xie Wushu nodded and said, "A place that can form a secret place will not be simple. It definitely has the value of exploration." Elder Xie, should we rush back now? Just then, an Origin Emperor expert who had stayed in Bawang sect for more than 20 days asked. With such a big thing happening, Origin Emperors like them were still fine. However, Origin ancestors like Elder Xie might need to head to the secret place to investigate. Old man, what do you think? Xie Wushu did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked at Elder Tang Wang of 9-Star Valley. Because the secret place had appeared, the 3 first-rate forces knew about it. Hence, they did not deliberately avoid Tang Wang when discussing it. Every new secret place that appears is not that easy to investigate. It should take some time before it is truly opened. However, this is hard to say. If it goes well, it might really open in a few days. Elder Tang thought for a while, and said as he paced around the hall. Old man is right. However, Su-Yi and the others have been in seclusion for so long. Not a single one of them has appeared. I don't know what the situation is like. If we leave now, I'm afraid it won't be good. Elder Xie nodded and said slowly. Those people are seriously injured. If they want to recover, it will definitely take a long time, Elder Tang added. Beside him, an expert from Blue Cloud Hall laughed bitterly and said, however, that kid is a little too much. He just left us here. Chapter 12:23. To put it bluntly, Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others were aware that Su-Yi was using them as shields. This was something that everyone had a tacit understanding of. One was willing to be beaten, and the other was willing to be beaten. There was nothing much to say. However, if they were to leave now, Elder Xie and the others would still be worried about the Bawang sect. After all, the power that could be mobilized in this mountain gate could not even be stopped by a normal second-rate force. Not to mention the Blood Sun sect. Even if the Tiangang sect took the opportunity to come, they could easily flatten this place. Even if they were being used by Su-Yi, they still did not want the Bawang sect to be flattened. The matter of the Mystery Land is definitely not limited to the 3 first-rate forces. The 7 second-rate forces such as the Big Dipper sect, the Boundless Palace, and the Purple Shadow Tower will definitely send people over and pay the greatest attention to that place. Elder Tang spoke again. Everyone beside him nodded upon hearing this. So, old man, what you mean is that Bai Zun and the others will also pay attention to the Mystery Land and will not attack the Bawang sect at this time? Elder Xie asked. Tang Wang rolled his eyes and glared at Xie Wushu. That's not what I meant. Su-Yi is still in seclusion. We should wait a little longer. Songyun Hall and 9 Stars Valley can send the news here at the fastest speed. When we really have to leave, we will leave the Bawang sect. This is the only way. Elder Xie agreed and said, let's be good people to the end. After all, we were the ones who took this step willingly. There was a hint of helplessness in his words. He felt that they had been tricked by Su-Yi. Before the many experts of the Bawang sect came out of seclusion, it was best for them to stay here and wait for news from the Mystery Land. After making this decision, the group did not think too much. However, Elder Xie and Elder Tang unconsciously ran to the back mountain of the Bawang sect and naturally found the cave that Ji Tianfu and the others were guarding. When they saw Elder Xie and the others appear here, they couldn't help but feel nervous. He's in seclusion, and he's covering it up quite well. Seeing Huang Jian, Wang Jingquan and the rest's expressions as if they were facing a great enemy, Xie Wushu could not help but curl his lips and say. Immediately after, they left the place. They felt that Su-Yi was really a cautious guy. Few, Huang Jian, Wang Jingquan, and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Elder Xie and the others leave. After all, the other party was not a member of the Bawang sect and could not be trusted completely. If he asked to enter the cave to look for Su-Yi, it would be troublesome. Given their group of origin emperors, it was simply impossible for them to stop those few origin ancestors. Unspecified currency p square root ER, it's been more than 20 days. Su-Yi and the others should be coming out soon, right? Ji Tianfu muttered. When he thought about the uniqueness of the mysterious space, he felt that Su-Yi, Merciless West, Little Handsome Su, and the others should have come out by now. Lin Zhenyang also felt that it was about time. Although he did not know about the existence of the mysterious space, Su-Yi had asked Ji Tianfu to bring him a bottle of spiritual liquid. The two of them sensed that the spiritual liquid was extremely terrifying and contained an unimaginable amount of energy. For Su-Yi and the others who were seriously injured, if there was enough spiritual liquid, they would definitely recover in 20 days. However, they did not understand why none of them came out of seclusion. Furthermore, Ji Tianfu, Huang Jian, and Wang Zhenquan were guarding the entrance of the cave, not daring to relax at all and not allowing anyone to enter. The strangest thing was that there were no fluctuations coming from the cave. This was the strangest thing. They did not know if there was a secret room inside or if there was an independent space isolated by the mystic gate illusory spirit world. In fact, what Ji Tianfu, Huang Jian, Wang Zhenquan, Lin Zhenyang, and the others did not know was that Su Yi, Merciless West, Little Handsome Su, and the Green Emperor were all in the midst of a breakthrough. Terrifying energy entwined and intertwined with each other, causing an earth-shattering commotion. Clusters of muffled thunder cruised in the sky as clouds and clouds filled the sky. The sky trembled, the earth trembled, and the storm swept out as power filled the air. Where the beast emperors were, terrifying beastly roars could be heard. This was especially true for the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming. Large amounts of golden light surged out of their bodies, forming the silhouette of a golden dragon in the void. The silhouette of a golden dragon coiled in the void with its head held high. The dragon roars pierced through the clouds and shattered stones, causing all things to tremble and thunder to roll in the sky. It's clearly the sounding snake's body, and there are two yin-yang hell flood dragons. Why are they releasing such terrifying dragon power? Impermanence Fairy was shocked to the extreme when she saw all of this. The pressure from the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming was so powerful that it was difficult for her to bear. This was not the pressure of an ordinary living being at all, but from the terrifying Golden Dragon clan. She could not understand why the Sounding Snake and the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons would have dragon power, as expected of the Golden Dragon blood essence. Each of them only got one drop, but they were able to obtain such great benefit. In the herb field, the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was also watching this scene and softly muttered to himself. He naturally knew about the Golden Dragon blood essence, and knew that the Green Emperor and the others had obtained unimaginable benefits from it. And even now, more and more of these benefits were still being dug out. What did you say? Impermanence Fairy could not help but ask curiously when she vaguely heard the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng's muttering. Nothing. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was stunned and secretly thought that this woman's ears were very sensitive. The Golden Dragon blood essence was very important, and the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng did not dare to casually reveal it to others. This was the first time this woman had entered this space, and he did not know what relationship she had with Su Yi. Impermanence Fairy did not think much and looked at the powerful fluctuations in the distance. In addition to the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhino Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor were also releasing a vast amount of ferocious aura that surged in all directions. Among all the Beast Emperors, the one whose aura was the most terrifying was Su Xiaobei. That little thing, is it really a phoenix? Impermanence Fairy's throat was dry, and she swallowed hard as she spoke in shock. She saw an enormous phantom of a 5-colored divine bird sitting in the sky. It covered half of the sky, and the sky was filled with multicolored light. Coo! The divine bird's mouth occasionally let out a phoenix cry, and the 5-colored light surged endlessly and surged into the sky. Below, Su Xiaobei's figure was completely enveloped by this phantom, and his aura was constantly rising. Under Impermanence Fairy's observation, the little figure's aura slowly increased from level 2 Demon Emperor Realm to level 3 Demon Emperor Realm, and not long after, to level 4 Demon Emperor Realm. This kind of growth was extremely terrifying and completely different from a normal breakthrough. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.